O eternal and almighty God, from whom all power and wisdom come, we are assembled here before thee to frame such laws as may tend to the welfare and prosperity of our province. Grant, O merciful God, we pray thee, that we may desire only that which is in accordance with thy will, that we may seek it with wisdom, know it with certainty, and accomplish it perfectly, for the glory and honor of thy name and for the welfare of all our people. Amen. We acknowledge we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabe, Dakota Oete, Dene Sulene, and Neothoag nations. We acknowledge Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis. We acknowledge northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. We respect the spirit and intent of treaties and treaty making and remain committed to working in partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration. Please be seated. Routine proceedings, introduction of bills. Committee reports. Tabling of reports. The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Which Honourable Speaker, I'm pleased to table the supplement to the estimates of expenditures for the Housing, Addictions and Homelessness Department for the fiscal year of 26-27. Which Honourable Speaker.
Further tabling of reports. The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Honourable Speaker, I'm pleased to table the supplement to the estimates of expenditures for Manitoba Agriculture for the fiscal year of 2026 and 27. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member statements. Sorry, got ahead of myself. The ministerial statements, the Honourable Minister of Families.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. During the week of March 23rd, 3 men, all former and current politicians, were charged with sexual assault. Former PC MLA and Minister Scott Fielding, Winnipeg City Councillor Russ Wyatt, his second charge of sexual assault, and BC MLA Han Chan, who was charged with assault and strangulation. 1 week, 3 men, all in positions of power. Scott Fielding and Russ Wyatt now join a list of former or current elected officials like Cliff Graydon, Nick Curry, Stan Struthers, and the current sitting member of Swan River, all entrusted with public office who chose to harm women. Scott Fielding didn't just sit in cabinet, he was the Minister of Finance. He personally signed off on Manitoba's sexual harassment policy that we are all subject to. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he did it anyways. We've seen it at every level. Predators and pedophiles like Jeffrey Epstein and Peter Nygaard show the world exactly how networks of power operate to shield abusers, while victims are ignored, silenced, and blamed. Women are enraged. We're exhausted. So again, as I've asked this chamber many times, what are men going to do about male violence? To be clear, the only response to my ministerial statement I expect from the PC caucus is denouncing their former colleague, Scott Fielding. Finally, I want to close by reading directly from CBC, and I offer a trigger warning. And I quote, Fielding continuously purchased alcoholic beverages for her. At the end of the night, he escorted the woman to her hotel room and forced his way in. She pleaded with him to stop, but he ignored her pleas. She attempted to crawl away, but he continued to be forceful and yell profanities at her. The woman suffered bite marks and scratches, end quote. To the woman in this affidavit, your voice is being heard in this chamber today. I believe you, I stand with you, and we believe you, and we stand with you. Miigwech.
The honourable member for Mordenwinkler.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Today I rise to mark Sexual Assault Awareness Month, recognized each April here in Manitoba. It is a time for us to stand together to support survivors, to acknowledge the courage of those who care for them, and to reaffirm our commitment to ending sexual violence in all its forms. This year's theme, 25 years stronger, looking back, moving forward, honors the survivors and advocates who laid the foundation for change and challenges us to continue the work of prevention, healing, and action. For 25 years, Sexual Assault Awareness Month has united survivors, advocates, and communities in a shared commitment to end sexual assault, abuse, and harassment. Sexual assault is about power and control, not about choices of a person harmed. It is preventable, and yet statistics are deeply troubling. More than half of women and nearly 1/3 of men report experienced sexual violence in their lifetime. Rates are disproportionately high among Black, Indigenous, and Hispanic women, people with intellectual disabilities, and transgender individuals. Most survivors know the person who has harmed them, and abuse does not always leave a visible injury. Even today, 95% of sexual assaults go unreported. For many survivors, the act of reporting can feel like an additional trauma and made worse by victim blaming and shaming. Shaming. For far too long, considered culturally acceptable. Let me state unequivocally, survivors are never to blame. Their clothing, their location, or their choices are irrelevant. The responsibility lies solely in the perpetrator 100% of the time. Awareness reduces stigma, education strengthens prevention, and open conversations create safer communities. Each of us has a role to play, and we must start the conversations about consent and respect and offer support to those in our lives who have been harmed. Every voice matters and every action counts. Manitoba has made meaningful progress, and we acknowledge the services provided by police, first responders, and organizations such as Toba Centre, the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, Clinic Kanikakshak offer critical support for survivors. Yet there is more work to be done, especially in addressing online exploitation, domestic violence, stalking, and coercive control. Throughout this month and every month, we recommit ourselves to the protection of Manitobans, to supporting survivors in ways that foster their healing, emotional, spiritually, and physically.
Member's time has expired. Is there leave for the member to finish her statement? Agreed and so ordered. The honourable member for Mordenwinkler.
We need to create a society where no one feels alone in their journey, because we together are stronger than the abuse. Today and every day, we honor the courage of survivors and the advocates who have fought tirelessly for 25 years. Together, we move forward, looking back to learn and looking forward to act. Thank you.
Member statements. The Honourable Member for Fort Richmond.
Honorable Speaker, today I rise to recognize a remarkable member of our Fort Richmond community, Mr. Brian Burchard, whose life reflects a deep and enduring commitment to public service and civic engagement. Brian's story begins at RCAF Station Rivers in Manitoba, before taking him across the world as part of a military family, living in Ontario, France, and Germany. He eventually returned to Winnipeg, where he went on to study at the University of Manitoba, earning degrees in applied economics, political science, and commerce. For more than 3 decades, Brian served Canadians through his work with the Canada Revenue Agency. During that time, he also took on important leadership roles within the labor movement, advocating for fairness and representation through both the Public Service Alliance of Canada and the Professional Institute of the Public Service of Canada. His efforts came at a pivotal time following a landmark Supreme Court decision that affirmed the rights of public servants to participate in political life, a right Brian embraced with dedication. Beyond his professional work, Brian has remained deeply engaged in our democratic process, volunteering his time to support political engagement in Fort Richmond. He often shares the story of canvassing on the opposite side of the street from his late father, Edward Burchard, a member of the Federal Liberal Party, a reflection of both his strong convictions and his respect for differing perspectives. Alongside his public service, Brian also pursued a lifelong passion, building a second career that has seen him fly across North America as a major Canadian airline captain. I invite all members to join me in recognizing Brian for a life marked by dedication to public service and a deep commitment to civic engagement. And I'd like to add guest names: Elizabeth Gauthier, Dan Gauthier, and Sheridan Orvis to Hansard. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The Premier of Manitoba has taken a clear position when it comes to the new federal leader of the NDP party, Avi Lewis, his ideology and his radical ideas. And they stand in sharp contrast to new Democratic leaders across Western Canada, Liberals and Conservatives across all of Canada. NDP leaders like Naya Nenchi in Alberta, Carla Beck in Saskatchewan, and NDP Premier David Eby in British Columbia have all distanced themselves from the new federal NDP leader, Avi Lewis. But for some reason, this Premier embraces him with open arms. While others have shown caution, this Premier has shown alignment to a man and his policies that will destroy Canada and Manitoba's economy. This is not about personalities, Honourable Speaker. It's about economic direction and the future of this province. The ideas being advanced by this federal NDP leader and now the Premier of Manitoba are not theoretical, they are real, and they have real consequences. They will kill jobs, they will destroy investments, and they will make life less affordable. Across Western Canada, NDP leaders, and I don't often agree with them, if ever, have said the simple truth that they do not agree with Avi Lewis. But this Premier does not get it. You cannot sustain strong public services without a strong economy. At a time when Manitobans are already paying more and waiting longer, this is not the time for recklessness, irresponsible, or ideological economic decisions by this misguided Premier here in Manitoba. It's a time for responsible leadership.
Order.
Manitobans need more jobs, they need more investments, and they need a government focused on real results, not ideology. Leadership is about tough choices, and Manitobans deserve a government that chooses growth, opportunity, results, and prosperity. The choice that we offer on this side of the House, Honourable Speaker. Thank you.
Order. The Honourable Member for Tuxedo.
Honourable Speaker, for the past week, Manitoba's Jewish community has come together to observe Passover, a sacred and deeply meaningful time of remembrance and tradition. Pesach marks the Jewish people's journey from oppression to freedom, a story that has endured for generations and continues to speak to the strength of the human spirit in the face of hardship. Through prayer and ceremony, this holiday reflects both the physical perseverance and the spiritual renewal of the Jewish people following their exodus from Egypt. Here in Manitoba, the Jewish community joins families and congregations around the world in observing the Seder and other Passover traditions. I was honored to participate in one of these traditions as an official witness to the Minister of Innovation and New Technology buying the chametz from the congregation Etz Chaim, represented by Rabbi Cleel Rose. Once Passover concludes, he will sell it back with proceeds going to the Jewish Child and Family Services. The observances of Passover reaffirm a faith, culture, and heritage that have been carried forward with pride for centuries. They represent a living connection between a people, their beliefs, and their history. Jewish Manitobans have shared this rich history with our province, helping to shape the strong and diverse multicultural fabric that we all value. In these challenging times, Passover is a renewed commitment to social justice, equality, and serves as a beacon of hope and appreciation for the communities that surround us. In recognizing the many contributions of Manitoba's Jewish community and the role of these traditions play in strengthening our civic tapestry, I ask all members in this House to join me in saying, Chag Pesach Sameach, to those observing Passover during this special holiday.
The Honourable Member for Spruce Woods.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today to recognize Green Shirt Day, a day that reminds us of the incredible power of giving and lasting impact of organ donations. This day was inspired by Logan Boulay, a young Humboldt Broncos player whose legacy continues to live across Canada. In the face of tragedy, Logan and his family made a selfless decision that sparked a national movement encouraging thousands to register as organ donors. Today, we are reminded that one donor can save up to 8 lives and enhance many more through tissue donation. Behind every number is a person, a loved one, waiting, hoping for a second chance of life. And as I know personally, my brother, Don Cluid, at 39 years old, received a liver transplant. It gave him additional 11 years to live. It let him see his children grow up, get married, a few grandchildren, a few more snowmobile rides, and to celebrate more anniversaries with his wife. Here in Manitoba and across our country, too many people remain on transplant lists. For them, the decision to register as an organ donor is not abstract. It is life-changing. Green Shirt Day is also about starting conversations. It's about making your wishes known to your family so that in a difficult moment, your decision can bring hope to others. Becoming an organ donor is one of the most meaningful acts of generosity we can make. It is a way to leave a legacy of compassion and life. I'd also like to thank the former MLA, Brandon West, Reg Helwer, for all his work he did on organ donation. Right. Thank you.
Order, please. Just before moving on with member statements, there are some guests in the gallery that have to leave before we'll be finished. We have seated in the public gallery from River East Collegiate 16 grade 9 students under the direction of Anita Stepaniuk, and this group is located in the constituency of the Honourable Member for Rosmere. We welcome you all here today. And there's also a second group of students seated in the public gallery. We have with us 73 students from Niverville High School under the direction of Robin Nemeth, and this group is located in the constituency of Springfield-Rashot. We welcome you all here today as well. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Honourable Speaker, since its inauguration in 1909, the St. Vital Agricultural Society has been cultivating a love for horticulture, arts, gardening through exhibits, classes, and fairs, helping Manitobans create beauty and connect with their environment. Every year, their work culminates with the agricultural fair. This summer, on August 7th and 8th, will mark the fair's 115th season. In its first year, the Society set up under a circus tent mounted at the corner of St. Mary's and Fermor. Soon they would go on to build a barn that is now known as the St. Vital Curling Club, before moving to its current location at the St. Vital Centennial Arena. Throughout the years, the fair has maintained warmth and heart. Competitors, young and old, continue to come together to share their skills in wood carving, gardening, flower arranging, planting, quilting, and so much more. These great displays inspire our community. The St. Vital Agricultural Society's story is built from hard work and dedication of leaders, of organizers, of volunteers, of participants, of donors, of visitors for 115 years. So thank you to all of them. And that's why it gives me great pleasure to recognize the distinct contribution of St. Vital Agricultural Society Board, their president, Pam McFarlane, and her team, including Animal Hook, Karen Irvin, Sheila Suluski, Deb Innes, and Wendy Raleigh, whose great leadership continue to encourage excellence and community in St. Vital and beyond. So I invite my colleagues to join me in thanking the board members who are with us here today for their contributions. Plus, I encourage all Manitobans to join me at the fair this August. Thank you all.
And prior to oral questions, I'd like to draw the attention of all honourable members to the loge to my right, where we have with us today Paul Wozni, Nova Scotia House of Assembly member for Sackville-Cobequid. He is the official opposition critic for Labour, Education, Advanced Education and Public Service Commission. And in the public gallery is his daughter, Leela. On behalf of all honourable members, we welcome you here today. Oral questions. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Economic growth matters. It matters for jobs, for wages, and for affordability. But growth doesn't happen by accident. It requires a clear choice to support investment, to develop our resources, and to create opportunity. Instead, in Manitoba, we are seeing a government and a premier move in the opposite direction. Across Western Canada, other NDP leaders are distancing themselves from the new leader of the federal NDP party, Avi Lewis, because they know his ideas will put jobs at risk. Why is the premier choosing to align himself with the ideas of the federal NDP leader, Avi Lewis, that are threatening Manitoba's jobs, families, and economic prosperity?
The Honourable First Minister.
Honourable Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Avi Lewis as the new leader of Canada's NDP. The party that brought you universal health care. Health care for everyone in the land that you don't need a credit card to access. just a health card.
That's right.
I also want to congratulate our member for Radisson for the amazing job that she did as the host of the federal convention. Yeah. She represented not just Manitoba youth, but Manitobans of all ages with poise, intelligence, and class. Much more than we could say for the members opposite. I also want to take this opportunity to offer my sincerest condolences to Avi and to the entire family on the loss of their dear father, Stephen Lewis. Lucky to call him a mentor. He made Canada and the world a better place. Millions of people with HIV
Members'
treatment
time
got
has expired.
help because of him, and I want to let me continue.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
The Premier's answer clearly shows he's not serious about the economy. He's not serious about affordability. He even laughs as he's sitting down because he runs out of time. Manitobans deserve a serious Premier. Their federal NDP leader has put forward ideas that are going to destroy Canada's economy and Manitoba's economy along with it. Policies that restrict development and discourage investment do the exact opposite of grow one's economy. Manitoba is falling behind the rest of Canada. When we are ranked dead last for economic growth, for GDP in Canada, we are dead last under this NDP government. Manitoba is not securing any major projects. It's not attracting any investments at the rate it should, other than a pipe dream by this Premier for 20 years for Churchill down the road. The ideas bring people together that will grow our economy. So will the Premier stand up today and tell Manitobans why he's supporting Avi Lewis's radical ideas when it comes to economy?
The Honourable First Minister.
So as I was saying, Honourable Speaker, Stephen Lewis got millions of people around the world, especially in Africa, treatment for HIV. He helped to end apartheid using the power of his mind and the power of his voice. He led this country to be a more just, compassionate place. Yeah. He will be missed. And I support his son because I know that he shares those same values, the values that we support on this side of the House. And of course, I lifted Avi's hand the same way that I reached for the hand of Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, any federal politician. You did not elect us to pick fights. You elected us to get things done, and that's exactly what we're going to do. On the other side of the House, picking fights with the federal government, picking fights with municipalities, picking fights with First Nations that eventually ended their time in government. So if this is a contest over who's going to get things done, bring it on. We're working for you. They're just faking it.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
It would be nice if the Premier talked about Manitoba instead of talking about international politics or Africa. Everyone can clearly see that he has his eyes set on Carney's job. The federal seat is taken, Honourable Premier. Maybe you should focus on Manitoba.
Order, please. Stop the clock. Order. Order. The government bench needs to come to order. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Members want to heckle across the way. Our focus on this side of the House is Manitobans. Manitobans come first. Can the Premier tell Manitobans which of these policies from his federal NDP boss he supports? Is it the opposition of major resource infrastructure projects? Is it the rapid phase-out of oil and gas? Is it large-scale government-led spending programs that his federal boss want to do? Is it increased regulation on businesses? Can the Premier stand up and tell Manitobans which of these policies from his federal NDP boss he supports?
The Honourable First Minister.
Merely a clap.
We're making the cost of living more affordable.
That's right.
We're helping you with grocery prices. We're helping you with energy prices, and we'll work together with the federal NDP to make sure that life gets more affordable in Canada.
Right.
However, when it comes to the members opposite, I don't need to go look at the crazy things Pierre Poilievre has said.
No.
I just have to look at the crazy things he said. He who attacked LGBT children in the last election. He who turns the other eye against the member for Red River North, who broke the law during the caretaker period and was fined. He who thanked Donald Trump for the tariffs that were being applied. You can go ahead and talk about what federal politicians say when they're at the convention. We'll still be here in Manitoba talking about the ugly hate you spew against people right here at our home. But most importantly,
Order, please. Order, please. Order, please. I would remind the First Minister to always direct his comments through the chair and not directly to the members opposite. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Again, the Premier will not answer a simple question about which policies he supports from his federal NDP boss. He stands on stage and raises his hand, but he won't say which one he supports. Of all his radical ideas, which one is it that this Premier supports behind Avi Lewis? The ideas from his federal boss have made other NDP leaders across Western Canada distance themselves from him, but this Premier can't hold himself back. He has to take up the limelight. He has to run on stage and embrace Avi Lewis and raise his hand. Does this Premier understand that he cannot grow the economy by hurting businesses, by driving investments out of this province? That's exactly what his federal NDP boss are going to do. So, will the Premier tell Manitobans why he's going to risk Manitobans' jobs and opportunity here by supporting crazy ideas from his NDP boss, Avi Lewis?
The Honourable First Minister.
There are tens of thousands of more Manitobans with jobs since we took office because of the economic policies of our team. We have the best budget number in the entire country. Better than Scott Moe, better than Doug Ford, better than Tim Houston. We got a positive review from Moody's, from S&P. The economic plan that we're laying out is a strong one. On the other side, they don't want to support Manitoba jobs. They couldn't even hire a Manitoba campaign director. That's right. Instead, they're sending tens of thousands of caucus dollars out, your taxpayer dollars, out to Alberta to import ideas which are pretty lame, I gotta say. Oh, Wobb's a member of the NDP. Yeah. We know. Doug Ford knows. Mark Carney knows. Everyone knows. But when it comes to you, we're making your life more affordable. That's right. We're fixing your health care. Yep. We're fixing your roads. And we're investing in schools.
Member's time
Choice is clear.
Expired. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a supplementary question.
No one believes a word this Premier is saying. NDP Premier David Eby in BC says he's going to stand against Avi Lewis's policies. Opposition NDP leader Nancy in Alberta has made it clear that he does not align himself with the more extreme elements of the federal NDP under Avi Lewis's leadership. NDP opposition leader Carla Beck in Saskatchewan has said if you're serious about affordability, your policies have to match. And she has also distanced herself from Avi Lewis. Economic growth requires pragmatism, not ideology. You cannot grow an economy by driving investments away and undermining key industries. So why is this Premier aligning with ideas that undermine affordability and economic growth when even other NDP leaders are distancing themselves from Avi Lewis?
The Honourable First Minister.
Honourable Speaker, when I say something, people know that I mean it. Yep. I said we were going to cut the gas tax. We did. That's right. I said we were going to search the landfill.
Order.
Oh, look at them. Look at them. Heckling the landfill search again. Oh. I would have thought they would have learned. No. But again, another promise kept, another promise delivered. When it comes to economic policy, does it help to have tariffs? Well, why did he thank Donald Trump after the tariffs were applied? Can you build an economy without LGBT folks? Can you build an economy without whatever the heck that was he said in the first set of questions? No, you can't. You build an economy by making sure that every single person in the society is valued by the government and has an opportunity to find success. You want to know why I stand with Avi Lewis? It's because we're going to work together to build a Canada where not only every child matters, but every person matters, and economic justice is within reach for all. That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on a final supplementary question.
The Premier won't stand up and clearly state which policies from his federal NDP leader he supports. He won't say which one he doesn't support. While other NDP leaders across Western Canada are distancing themselves from the ideas of their federal NDP leader, Avi Lewis, this Premier is embracing him on stage. It is clear that the federal NDP party is ideologically focused on destroying key parts of Manitoba and Canada's economy by nationalizing key elements, driving out investment, and increasing regulation. Avi Lewis said so himself, and this Premier embraced him on stage. So the question is simple for the Premier. Maybe he can actually answer one today. NDP leaders and members across all of Canada are distancing themselves from the federal NDP party under the leadership of Avi Lewis. Why is the Premier moving closer to aligning himself with NDP leader Avi Lewis?
Here, here.
The Honourable First Minister.
So there you go. We're clearly doing an amazing job on healthcare.
Yeah.
We've clearly done a lot with much more to do when it comes to the cost of living.
Yeah.
All of the economic policies are going great. The education policy, it's all sterling. Because given the time to raise any of those topics that Manitobans are thinking about, all the member opposite can talk about is Avi Lewis.
Yeah.
Good signs of things to come for the federal party in the future, maybe. People are getting excited and fired up. But here in Manitoba, we're focused on you.
That's right.
We cut the gas tax once, maybe we'll do it again. We brought down the tax at the grocery store to help you save money.
Right.
And of course, when it comes to housing costs, whether you're paying a mortgage or paying the rent, we're there to help you too. While the members opposite are stuck in a partisan dead end of their own making, we are focused on the common good. We're focused on the common person. That's what we have in common with you.
That's right.
The Honourable Member for Midland.
The economy is getting worse, not better, under this NDP. Last year, Manitoba had the worst economic GDP growth in the entire country at just 1.1%. Now Deloitte has actually downgraded Manitoba's GDP growth to just 1% for this year. This is a sign that the NDP are dragging Manitoba backwards. After almost 3 years of higher taxes, less investment, and zero major projects, why has this Premier left Manitoba with one of the weakest growth projections in the entire country?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, over 30,000 jobs created in Manitoba since this team took government. We're responding to the economic headwinds created by those tariffs with huge investments in capital. A $3.8 billion capital plan, this budget, the biggest capital plan in Manitoba's history. We're building the schools, hospitals, and infrastructure that never got built for years under the members opposite. We know how important it is to keep moving Manitoba forward and growing this economy. We know how important workers are to that. That's why this budget had a $7.2 million investment in apprenticeships to make sure we have the skilled workers we need to help grow our economy here in this province. Again, for years, we had a lack of leadership, a lack of vision under the members opposite. This team is doing the work of not only investing and making sure we have the health care we need, the education we need.
The Honourable Member for Midland on a supplementary question.
This Premier stood up and said Moody's response was a good one. This is deeply concerning for Manitoba, considering Moody's credit rating agency just came out with red flags that this Premier's budget does not reflect economic realities. The NDP was warned last year. They're being warned this year. This is serious. When will this Premier start taking Manitoba's fiscal realities seriously?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, credit rating agencies are responding favourably to the budget we just put out. This is fiction. Manitobans know it. And you know what? That's based off some of the important work we've done with credit rating agencies and with investors. And one of the things we're proudest of, when we came in government, 9.9 cents on every dollar was going towards servicing debt. Under this team, this year with this budget, 8.9 cents on every dollar. Reducing debt, getting the job done, they never did. Manitobans know they can count on us to not only move forward in a fiscally sustainable way, something they never did, but we're going to do that while we invest in healthcare and fixing the mess that they left for us to clean up.
The honourable member for Midland on a final supplementary question.
Moody's credit rating agency has warned this NDP government year over year that their budget projections do not match Manitoba's economic reality. When credit rating agencies start questioning the numbers, this is not just a warning, but it's a credibility crisis. Instead of a real economic plan, this NDP is pinning all its hopes and dreams on hydro making money and it raining. Now the NDP has been warned by credit rating agencies year after year, yet the NDP just does not seem to get it. This is serious. When is this Premier going to start taking Manitoba's fiscal reality seriously?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Honourable Speaker, right before the PCs left government, they left Manitobans with a budget that had estimated $600 million in revenue for Manitoba Hydro, completely lacking in credibility. And we know that when they came out, and they already knew that Hydro was not headed for a $600 million result, they hid that from Manitobans. They hid that before an election, and we know why they hid it. We saw that, of course, them make multiple decisions that show that they're not interested in transparency, they're not interested in accountability. On this side of the House, we're doing the hard work of ensuring fiscal sustainability. We're working closely with credit rating agencies and investors to ensure they know that we're building forward a path to balance as we committed next year, and we're going to do that again while we invest in the things that they didn't invest in for 7.5 years. In fact, that they cut, like fixing health care.
Time has expired. The honourable member for La Vérendrye.
Honourable Speaker, with Manitoba's economy continuing to slow, the Minister of Business, Trade and Job Creation is failing in every single ask of his mandate letter. Rather than grow our economy with good jobs, support Manitoba businesses, and increase investment in our province, instead of doing that, this minister supports the Manitoba Jobs Agreement, a policy that shuts out the vast majority of Manitoba's construction workforce and creates new barriers to getting projects built. How does forcing workers out of jobs and limiting who can work on provincial projects grow our Manitoba economy?
The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Honourable Speaker, I just want to highlight the fact that the member opposite forgot the mining responsibility as part of the portfolio. And I think it's important to highlight that because the Mining Association is here in the building today. And so I want to thank them for the good work they do to build up the mining jobs across Manitoba. As reminded today by the good work of the Mining Association, MAMI, that it's all about jobs. It's about northern jobs. It's about putting people to work in northern Manitoba, giving them more economic opportunities. And so we're happy to say that we're supporting that. We opened a new gold mine here in Manitoba. That's more Manitobans who are working. That's more good jobs in the north. And that's growing a strong economy for all Manitoba.
The honourable member for La Vérendrye on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, the only mine that this minister can speak of is one that was started under our government. This minister has failed to fulfill on every single one of the mandates in his mandate letter. He's failed to expand opportunity and grow Manitoba's workforce, and this is particularly true in the construction sector. The Manitoba Jobs Agreement shuts out up to 88% of Manitoba's construction workforce for major projects unless they go through the government-favoured system. At the same time, we're seeing real projects struggle. Companies like Natural Proteins and Blumenort are facing delays, and investment like Law Merit are reconsidering Manitoba altogether. How can this minister claim
Member's time has expired. The Honourable Minister of Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Honourable Speaker, we're happy to work together across all sectors to build a strong economy for Manitobans, and that means working with the construction sector. We're happy to say that our Manitoba Job Agreement benefits all workers. 100% of workers will be better off. They'll have better wages, they'll have safer work environments, and the great thing about the Manitoba Jobs Agreement is it's going to prevent those out-of-province workers from taking Manitoba jobs. We're going to hire Manitobans for Manitoba's job. It's a radical idea that members opposite have never heard of, but we're going to do it here. We're going to actually hire Manitobans instead of folks from Alberta, like the member opposites already have a track record of doing. While we're doing that, we're going to make sure we support businesses and support workers, building a stronger economy for Manitobans' construction sector right here and across the north.
The honourable member for Laval-Andre.
Honourable Speaker, that's simply not the results that we're seeing. In this minister's mandate letter, a mandate which has failed tremendously, was to grow the economy and attract investment. Instead, business confidence is down, investment is leaving, and now their signature policy risks slowing projects before they even begin. The mandate letter talks about results, but this minister is delivering barriers. Will the minister admit the Manitoba Jobs Agreement is undermining his own mandate and putting Manitoba jobs at risk?
The Honourable Minister, Business, Mining, Trade and Job Creation.
Well, Honourable Speaker, the Manitoba Job Agreement is delivering 100% better than anything that they ever came up with. All workers will be better wages, safer work environments, and continue to prioritize jobs for Manitobans. And at the same time, we want to talk about our results. Well, for all of 2025, second best unemployment rate, second best youth unemployment rate, hiring nearly 30,000 new workers over the last 2 years, and #1 in private employment increase for all of 2025. That's real investment. But we're not stopping there. This budget, we announced over $7 million of new funding for apprenticeship, making sure that more Manitobans have the opportunity to get the skills they need.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
Manitobans are disappointed that this NDP government is spending 5 times the amount on consumption sites as it is on treatment and recovery. Not only did their budget fail to include a single RAM clinic, this government is backing consumption sites right next to treatment centres. This minister's actions are setting up people struggling in addiction to fail. How is this helping anyone?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. Well, our government takes a 4-pillared approach. Again, that member, when they were in government, they took a blind eye. They didn't support any members that were struggling. They sold off housing, put people in encampments, sent them deeper into their addictions. We're not taking that approach. We're taking a 4-pillared approach where we're meeting people where they're at, taking a harm reduction approach, making sure that we're connecting them to support so that we can get them onto a path of recovery. We're working with the Justice Minister to make sure that we're in full enforcement, and we're working with our amazing Education Minister so that we are getting nutrition into our schools.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie on a supplementary question.
Just to set the record straight, it was 7 RAM clinics that we set up. This NDP government has created a system with absolutely no accountability. The only thing stopping this minister is the watchful community of Point Douglas, her own constituents. We have stood shoulder to shoulder with them as they dug through the federal records to uncover answers she refused to give. Will the minister today give concerned Winnipeggers assurance right now that if her government's mobile consumption site rolled up next to a recovery centre, she would shut it down immediately?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Let me be very clear with that member that, the folks that are on the front lines, including social workers, are very skilled people that are servicing and supporting these members. That leader across the way has devalued those very important people that are supporting those folks through addictions. In 2019, while those folks were in opposition, in government, 143 people overdosed. But in 2023, while they were in government, that rose to 794 deaths. And I just want to juxtapose that. Since we formed government, we've added over 1,500 addiction treatment spaces. We're continuing to take a balanced approach.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie on a final supplementary question.
So when will this minister be shutting down the mobile overdose prevention site, which is operating continuously at 631 Main Street, sharing a parking lot with a well-respected Red Road Lodge recovery program? This is happening right now, today, under this minister's watch. So Manitobans want to know when will the mobile drug consumption site stop operating next to a recovery center at 631 Main Street? When?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. Again, members on that side knew that there was people dying in the streets. Businesses were knocking on that member's door on that side. They refused to take action. On this side of the House, we're listening. We're taking a proactive approach. We're going to ensure that members have places to go so that they can get connected to services. Unlike members opposite who refuse to listen, we're taking a health-led model, and we're going to ensure that people get treatment and recovery. That's why we're working on opening up Ann Oak. We're working with Bruce Oak. We've opened up over 1,500 treatment spaces. We're going to continue to work on housing with wraparound support so people can get access to resources and supports, unlike members opposite.
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Lac du Bonnet.
Winnipeggers already know that under this NDP government, they're allowing youth under the age of 18 to enter the drug consumption site without any ID. Now I'd like to ask the Education Minister of not only education but also early childhood learning, when did she become aware that her NDP government are going to be hanging posters to advertise the drug consumption site in schools?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker. And you know what? That member should be ashamed of himself. As an educator, he should be very ashamed of himself. As an educator myself, he knows that there are youth in schools that are struggling with addiction, that need supports and services, and he is stigmatizing those very youth that need access.
Order.
We have been clear from the beginning that youth will not be allowed in the supervised consumption site, and if a youth does under 18 come to the supervised consumption site, that they will be referred to the appropriate service. Shame on that member.
The honourable member for Lac du Bonnet on a supplementary question.
So, Honourable Speaker, it seems that the Brandon Sun had asked for a shuffle in the Education Department. It looks like it possibly happened without anybody ever knowing, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, so the question is simple. I'm asking the Education and Early Childhood Learning Minister, when did she authorize schools to advertise for the drug consumption site here in Winnipeg? Winnipeggers want to know, Manitobans want to know, when did she authorize it, Honourable Speaker?
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. We know that there's youth out there that are struggling with addictions and substance use. I want to say to those youth that there is help for them out there, that there is support. Ray does an amazing job. There are so many folks out there that are on the front lines, and I want to say miigwech to you. I want to lift you up, and I want to say thanks for the work that you do each and every day. To those members opposite that continue to stigmatize you, the very folks that are struggling and the parents and all of those that are struggling to get the supports that you need. Shame on members opposite for doing what you're doing. We believe in you, we support you, and we are continuing to put the services that you need to get your loved ones help.
Wow. The honourable member for Lac du Bonny on a final supplementary question.
Shame on this minister for standing up and asking the education minister to sit down, because the education minister obviously doesn't know the answer, Honourable Speaker. This minister, shame on this minister and the whole NDP government for going out and promoting drug consumption sites. Matter of fact, getting to the point of hanging up posters in local schools advertising for youth to go to these drug consumption sites. I want to ask either minister or even the premier, when was he aware that they're going to be hanging posters in schools to advertise the drug consumption site that they're going to be opening, Honourable Speaker?
Order. The Honourable Minister of Housing, Addiction and Homelessness.
Educator, and as a fellow educator, he needs to be ashamed of himself. We've been very clear on this side of the House that no one under 18 will be entering the supervised consumption site. If someone under the age of 18 comes to the supervised consumption site, they will be referred to the appropriate service. Again, members opposite is stigmatizing substance use. That's what leads to people losing their lives. We need to make sure that they are getting the appropriate services that they need. That's why people are overdosing and losing their lives. That's exactly why we need a supervised consumption site, so that we can get people the appropriate supports and services that they need. They are not going to get onto a path.
Time has expired. The honourable member for McPhillips.
Honourable Speaker, Manitobans understand that mental health is a critical part of our healthcare system. The professionals delivering that service are essential to supporting patients and families. Our government has been taking action to strengthen these services by hiring more professionals than ever before. Can the Minister of Sports, Culture, Heritage and Tourism please tell Manitobans more about the amazing Manitoban healthcare professionals and how many we've hired? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Sports, Culture, Heritage and Tourism.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I'd like to thank the member for McPhillips for that really important question. On this side of the House, we respect social workers and every mental health professional who work tirelessly and plays such a vital role in caring for Manitobans. As someone who had the privilege and honour to work and be a registered social worker for many years, I know that meeting people where they're at, whether it be in crisis, in recovery, or somewhere in between, is critical. That's why our government is so excited to announce that we have hired over 50 new net mental health professionals in our province. That means more psychologists, more mental health coordinators, and you guessed it, Honourable Speaker,
Member's time has expired. The honourable member for Lakeside.
Honourable Speaker, 2 years ago, this government insisted the North End Water Pollution Control Centre must be completed by 2030 to protect Lake Winnipeg. Yet now they have quietly extended that deadline to 2032 because the project is behind schedule. Given that this delay stems in large part from the province's own failure to provide clear funding commitments, can the minister tell Manitobans today whether or when this project is inevitably delayed again due to their indecision?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Honourable Speaker, Manitobans care about water. We care about our water. The only group that doesn't care about the water is the PC caucus. We're committed to getting Newpick built to protect our water, to build up our economy, and to ensure that we continue to move forward. That is something that did not happen under their 7.5 years of their dismal government.
The honourable member for Lakeside on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, Manitobans have heard wildly different stories from this government. The Premier says billions, the Minister says millions, and the City of Winnipeg has not seen a single dime for Phase 3 of the Newpick project. With cuts across the board in this budget, there's no room anywhere for a project of this scale. So I will ask again, very simply, how much money is actually in this budget for Phase 3 of the North End Water Pollution Control Centre?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Honourable Speaker, this is ultimately about putting up the safeguards around Lake Winnipeg and all of our waterways. And to be quite frank, our government would have liked this done yesterday. Unfortunately, the members opposite dithered away year after year after year for 7.5 years, not getting anything done. And so now we put milestones in to ensure that our North End Water Pollution Control Centre can get built on time. We're going to hold them to account, and we're going to push the city to make sure it happens.
The Honourable Member for Lakeside on a final supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, let's make it clear to Manitobans that it was the PC government that helped fund Phase 1 and 2 of this project. The City of Winnipeg has made it clear that without a firm provincial funding commitment for Phase 3 of Newpick, it cannot proceed. If the City of Winnipeg is forced to go at it alone, the failure will result in sewer rates going up by $1,000 per property. With no clear funding commitment coming from this government, will the minister tell Winnipeg families and businesses that he is okay with them paying the price for its ongoing delay and indecision?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Honourable Speaker, we've been really clear with the city, we've been really clear with Manitobans and Winnipeggers that we are going to be there to get Newpick built in Phase 3. And even better, we're going to do it under the Manitoba Jobs Agreement. We recognize how important this is for our waterway, we recognize how important this is for our economy, and we recognize how important this is for Winnipeggers and Manitobans.
The Honourable Member for Morden Winkler.
Honourable Speaker, the community of Morden has reached its wastewater capacity, and as a result, new housing and business development are being stalled or denied.
Order.
Yet in this year's provincial budget, there was no dedicated funding for wastewater infrastructure anywhere in the province. Can the minister explain why growing communities like Morden were completely overlooked?
The Honourable Minister of Municipal and Northern Relations.
Well, we continue to invest in wastewater and water across Manitoba. We did it in the RSR, we did it in Pembina Valley Water Co-op, and we did it with the Morden Winkler line. Right. We will continue to work with Mayor Penner and their team to make sure that the future of Morden, like the future of Manitoba, is secure. And again, we go back to being honest brokers with municipalities, honest brokers with the city, honest brokers with the feds, rather than taking out that black and brown and MAGA red and scaring everybody, because that's the only play they have left. We will continue to work with Morden, we'll continue to work with Pembina Valley Water Co-op, and we'll continue to stand up for you, Manitobans.
Good job. The Honourable Member for Morden Winkler on a supplementary question.
Honourable Speaker, how does this government expect Manitoba's economy to grow when rural communities are being forced to turn away investment due to inadequate wastewater infrastructure? Does the minister recognize that the lack of capacity is directly impacting jobs, housing, and economic opportunities in Manitoba? Will he reply back to the mayor of Morden's emails?
The Honourable First Minister.
Every week when I go on Golden West Radio, I always talk about water and wastewater in the Pembina Valley. We're going to be there to get it done. But if people watching Question Period today just heard a little scuffle of noise in the back row, I want to point out that there was an unfortunate little outburst from the member for Red River North, which is really, really interesting because he never talks on the record ever since he was fined. There's another thing about the member for Red River North that we noticed over the weekend. They've nominated every single single incumbent who's running again in the PC party, except one. They haven't renominated the member for Red River North. So as they go run to the social media and as they go run to the scrum, please tell everybody, are you finally going to ban him from running for violating the Constitution and breaking the law? Or is it even worse that you're keeping a spot open for someone who was fined during this legislative session?
That's right. The time for oral questions has expired, and I have a ruling for the House. Order. Order. Following oral questions on March 17, 2026, the Honourable Government House Leader rose on a matter of privilege, alleging that during oral questions, the Leader of the Official Opposition made disparaging and threatening remarks directed at the Deputy Premier and the First Minister. The Honourable Government House Leader concluded her remarks by moving that this matter be referred to a committee of this House. The Honourable Official Opposition House Leader spoke to the matter before I took it under advisement. In order for a matter of privilege to be ruled as a prima facie case, a member must demonstrate that the issue has been raised at the earliest opportunity, while also providing sufficient evidence to support the claim that a prima facie case of privilege has been established. On the condition of timeliness, in accordance with our rules, the Honourable Government House Leader raised the matter immediately following oral questions on the day the remarks were allegedly spoken. Accordingly, I would rule that the matter was raised at the earliest opportunity. On the second condition of whether a prima facie case was demonstrated, in her submission, the Honourable Government House Leader alleged that during oral questions that day, the Leader of the Official Opposition yelled across the chamber to the Deputy Premier, "You are a terrible person, whatever you are." The Honourable Government House Leader further alleged that the Leader of the Official Opposition said to the Premier, "Let's take it outside." The member stated that these two comments amounted to a threat from one member to two members of her caucus. The Honourable Government House Leader's allegation is in part based on language used in the chamber, and as many other Manitoba speakers have noted in previous comparable rulings, unparliamentary language is governed by a practice of this House. Joseph Mangot, in the second edition of Parliamentary Privilege in Canada, states on page 14 that allegations of a breach of privilege by a member which amount to complaints about procedures and practices in the House are by their very nature matters of order. He also states on page 254 of the same edition that language that impugns the integrity of members would be unparliamentary and a breach of order, contrary to the standing orders, but not a breach of privilege. The Honourable Government House Leader also alleged that members of her caucus were threatened by the Leader of the Official Opposition in the 4th edition of the House of Commons Procedure and Practice, Jance and LeBlanc state in citation 3.78 that attempting to obstruct members' parliamentary work by threatening or intimidating them is a situation that the Speaker always takes very seriously. As the Speaker of this House and as a Manitoba citizen, I am deeply disappointed at the atrocious state of decorum in the House last week. The yelling and hollering during oral questions in recent weeks has been embarrassing and shameful. I've tried many times in the past to make you all understand that with such behavior, you are leaving a disgraceful legacy for the people of Manitoba, and especially the children and youth who come to watch our proceedings in the public gallery. I cannot count how many times I've warned members that if they did not stop making so much noise, I would not be able to hear what was happening in the House, and therefore not able to do my job properly. This incident would be a prime example of that problem. Due to the level of noise in the chamber during the exchange in oral questions, I could not hear either of these alleged comments. In preparing this ruling, I listened to the audio from our House broadcast many times, trying to hear the comments in question with no success. As a next step, I requested an isolated audio feed from the interject mics positioned at the clerk's table. These mics are in place to attempt to catch parts of members' speech that might be lost due to technical problems or excessive noise during sitting. In this case, however, they provided a clearer recording of comments being made amongst the many voices heard at the moment. On this recording, I can clearly hear the Leader of the Opposition say, "You are a terrible person, whatever you are. It is up to me as Speaker." Order, order. And the honourable member, official Leader of the Opposition, should pay attention. So on this recording, I can clearly hear the Leader of the official Opposition say, "You're a terrible person, whatever you are." It is up to me as Speaker to determine if that comment was a threat. Order. I was shocked and appalled to hear such dehumanizing comment had in fact been made in this chamber. There have been a lot of hurtful, disrespectful things said in this chamber in my time as Speaker, and I truly wish that those comments and this comment had never been heard in this room. Based on past precedents and after much consultation with other jurisdictions, I find that much to my disappointment that I cannot rule those hateful words as a threat. Therefore, I am ruling on this matter. The Honourable Government House Leader did not establish a prima facie case of privilege. Members have heard me explain the importance of privilege, of freedom of speech. We all have members of this legislature. That privilege is essential for the effective functioning of the House. However, the misuse or abuse of this privilege can and does create significant problems in this House. In the 4th edition of House of Commons Procedure and Practice, Jance and LeBlanc share the following thoughts in citation 3.62. The privilege of freedom of speech is an extremely powerful immunity, and on occasion, speakers have had to caution members about its misuse. The Speaker has noted that while this right is essential to parliamentary business, the word free is not synonymous with limitless. The question that I wrestled with on this ruling is, do I set a new precedent? What are the ramifications of doing that? What happens to a member's right to freedom of speech if I make that ruling? How do I, as a speaker, limit that freedom? The answer is I cannot do that, as that is not how this place is meant to function. While I cannot rule this as a valid matter of privilege, I could rule on such comments as a matter of order in the future. I'm advising the House now that I will keep this option in mind as long as I am in the chair. We should all be sensitive to the fact that our society's history is crowded with examples of remarks and actions causing great pain and hardship to many, many people. There's absolutely no need for any further such remarks being shared in this chamber. And I implore all members to use language that is more respectful in this House. As I've stated, this kind of behavior in the House leaves a very bad legacy for Manitobans who voted for us all. Worse still, I believe they also create a disincentive for worthy and capable people to run for office. At times like this, we do not make the legislature look like an attractive workplace. In accordance with the established policy of the Office of Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba and with previous rulings, I will provide this audio clip upon request. I have nothing further to say on this matter except to say that I will continue to do this job to the best of my abilities, and I strongly believe that members should be setting a better example for Manitobans in this place. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Miigwech, Honourable Speaker, on a point of order in respect of your ruling. And I just want to read this for the record, and I quote, "On this recording, I can clearly hear the Leader of the Opposition, the official opposition say, and I quote, 'You are a terrible person, whatever you are,' end quote. And while the Leader of the Opposition has not paid attention once while you are reading your ruling, I would ask the Leader of the Opposition to get up today to apologize to the Deputy Premier and the Minister of Health for his dehumanizing language against an individual and Manitobans like the Minister of Health who are already attacked on a daily basis, including by himself during the 2023 election. I would ask him to get up and apologize. Immediately after this matter of privilege, the Leader of the official opposition went outside these chamber doors and told media that he never said that. And today, it is proven that he in fact did say that. So he went outside these chambers and lied to the media. And so I ask him to get up and apologize.
Please. I just remind the honourable member and ask her to withdraw that comment that using the term lied is unparliamentary language. The Honourable Government House Leader. The Honourable Government House Leader.
You did lie.
The member did put erroneous facts on the record when he spoke to the media.
You all knew he lied.
I have to remind the Honourable Government House Leader that she must withdraw the comment. The Honourable Government House Leader.
I withdraw the comment.
Thank you. So, on the matter of privilege, on the point of order, I'm sorry, are there other members wishing to speak? Order. Are there other members wishing to speak on the point of order? The Honourable Minister of Health, Seniors and Long-Term Care.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I just want to thank you. for taking the time and doing your due diligence to bring forward a ruling that reflects the truth of what happened in the chamber that day. I know it was a significant undertaking as outlined here in your ruling, and I do appreciate that those efforts were made. I am disappointed to see that the Leader of the Opposition is choosing in this moment to not be accountable to Manitobans and to simply do what is very basic and to offer an apology. And not to me, Honourable Speaker, quite frankly, I would say that that would be an apology that would mean a great deal to many Manitobans, who I'm sure most of us in this chamber have heard from, have been deeply and personally affected by his hateful and dehumanizing remarks. I do want to take a moment to thank my colleagues on this side of the chamber, the Premier in particular, for their immediate response in that moment, the day that it happened, and for their ongoing support, again, not of me, yes of me, but of course of Manitobans who I know have been reaching out to share, not only to discuss the behavior of the Leader of the Opposition, but that on that day, his actions made some people in our province feel a little less safe. And so the last thing that I would offer on this point of order, Honourable Speaker, is to Manitobans, and particularly young Manitobans. I hope that you see that if in a place as esteemed as this chamber, there can be a result that condemns such hateful and dehumanizing actions, I hope that you can see that no matter what space you take up anywhere in our province, you deserve to be respected. You deserve to be supported, and you deserve to be treated with the common decency that our government stands for all Manitobans. And so you will not, unfortunately, receive an apology from the Leader of the Opposition. And so I'm going to offer you an apology today and say that you didn't deserve to be affected by his remarks in the way that you were. I extend that apology to you, and I want to reassure you that you will continue to have a Premier and a government in our NDP caucus that stands with you each and every day and continues to build a province where you know unequivocally that you belong. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition on the same point of order.
On the same point of order. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I, on this side of the House, as the leader of this party, and the members on this side of the House can stand and recognize when I make a mistake. And I apologize to the Deputy Health Minister, apologize to members opposite, to everyone in the chamber and all Manitobans for those words. I look forward to seeing the full audio or listening to the full audio of that. But if that's the interpretation of the Speaker, I apologize for that. I apologize for any harm those comments may have made. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Order, please. Order, please. Order. I believe that once again, while the apology was proffered, it was lacking, but I believe that concludes this matter officially. Petitions. Oh, House business. The Honourable Opposition, the Honourable Member for Steinbeck.
House business.
On House business, the Honourable Member for Steinbeck.
I'd like to announce the previously announced Standing Committee on Public Accounts meeting on Friday, April 10th, 2026 at 3 p.m. will be rescheduled for Friday, April 17th, 2026 at 3 p.m. I'd also like to announce that the previously announced Standing Committee on Public Accounts meeting on Friday, April 10th, 2026 at 5 p.m. will be rescheduled for Friday, April 17th, 2026 at 5 p.m.
Order, please. It has been announced that the previously announced Standing Committee on Public Accounts meeting on Friday, April 10th, 2026 at 3:30 p.m. will be rescheduled for Friday, April 17th, 2026 at 3 p.m. It also been announced that the previously announced Standing Committee on Public Accounts meeting held on Friday, April 10, 2026 at 5 p.m. will be rescheduled for Friday, April 17, 2026 at 5 p.m. The Honourable Government House Leader on House Business.
Pursuant to Rule 34(7), I am announcing that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Tuesday of private member's business will be one put forward by the Honourable Member for Kildonan River East. The title of the resolution is National Strategy for Silver Alerts.
Been announced that pursuant to Rule 34(7) that the private member's resolution to be considered on the next Tuesday of private member's business will be one put forward by the Honourable Member for Kildonan River East. The title of the resolution is National Strategy for Silver Alerts. Petitions. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
Honourable Speaker, I wish to present the following petition. Mike.
Order, please. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
To the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background to this petition is as follows. 1. Thanks to the investment made under the previous PFC provincial government as part of the Clinical and Preventative Services Plan, construction for the new Portage Regional Health Facility is well underway. The facility is surrounding community would greatly benefit from added diagnostic machinery and equipment, but specifically the addition of an MRI machine. 2. An MRI machine is a non-invasive medical imaging technique that uses a magnetic field and computer-generated radio waves to create detailed images of organs and tissues in the human body. It is used for disease detection and diagnosis and treatment monitoring. Mike.
The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli. Order, please. Order, please. The two leaders have been conversing back and forth across the chamber, and in particular, the First Minister. If there's a conversation to be had, please take it somewhere else so that I can hear what's being said. The Honourable Member for Interlake Gimli.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. 3. Portage La Prairie is centrally located in Manitoba and is on the #1 highway in Southern Health, Sante Sud Health Authority. Currently, there is only one MRI machine in the RHA. 4. An MRI machine located in the Portage Regional Health Facility will reduce transportation costs for patients as well as reduce the burden on stretcher service and ambulance use. It will bring care closer to home and reduce wait times for MRI scans across the province. 5. Located around Portage La Prairie are the Dakota Teepee, Dakota Plains, Sandy Bay, and Long Plains First Nations reserves. Indigenous peoples in Canada disproportionately face barriers in access to services and medical care. An MRI machine is located in the Portage Regional Health Facility and will bring care closer to their home communities and provide greater access to diagnostic testing. 6. Located in close proximity to the new Portage Regional Health Facility is the Southport Airport. This aerodrome has a runway length that is more than adequate to support medical air ambulance services. This would provide the opportunity to transport patients by air from more remote communities to access MRI imaging services. 7. The average wait times for Manitobans to receive an MRI scan is currently 6 to 8 months. Having an MRI machine in the Portage Regional Health Facility will help reduce these wait times for patients and provide better care sooner. We petition the Legislative Assembly as follows: to urge the provincial government to support the investment and placement of an MRI machine in the Portage Regional Health Facility in Portage-La Prairie, Manitoba. This petition is signed by Mr. Pache, Tracy Lenton, Carly Turowski, and many, many other fine Manitobans.
The honourable member for Portage-La Prairie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I wish to present the following petition. The background to this petition is as follows. Number 1, Kelly Verway, a beloved young woman from Portage-La Prairie, Manitoba, was tragically killed in a car crash caused by a repeat violent offender with a long criminal history. Number 2, despite repeated violations of his bail conditions, the offender was free to roam the streets and to ultimately claim Kelly's life. This tragedy was entirely preventable. Number 3, while the criminal code falls under federal jurisdiction, provinces have been given the responsibility for the administration of justice, allowing for meaningful provincial action on bail reform to ensure public safety. Number 4, other provinces have taken proactive steps to strengthen bail enforcement, but Manitoba has not used all the available tools to address this issue effectively. Number 5, the provincial government has the ability and the responsibility to advocate for and implement measures that protect its citizens by ensuring that repeat violent offenders are not released to our communities without proper safeguards. Number 6, immediate action is required to close gaps in the justice system that allow dangerous criminals to remain free, which puts innocent Manitobans at risk. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows. Number 1, to urge the provincial government to take immediate and decisive action on bail reform to address serious deficits in enforcement by utilizing all available provincial mechanisms to strengthen warrant enforcement, increasing bail supervision, and opposing release of offenders, thus ensuring that repeat violent offenders are held accountable and that the public safety is prioritized over leniency, and to urge the provincial government to lobby the federal government to immediately repeal provisions of the criminal code that allow for the continued victimization of law-abiding Manitobans while granting repeat offenders additional rights. Honourable Speaker, this is signed by Cash Masson, Geraldine Masson, and Ahmed Khalil, and many more Manitobans. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The honourable member for Lac du Bonny.
I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. And the background to this petition is as follows. Number one, the provincial government's decision to cancel the education property tax credit and the property tax offset grant has enabled and encouraged school divisions to introduce massive tax increases. Number two, these massive increases have been felt by all Manitobans and compounded by arbitrary and punitive changes to the education property tax rebate, and those changes have made many Manitobans ineligible to receive the $1,500 rebate. Number three, secondary property owners are subject to taxation without representation, as they are ineligible to vote for trustees who set the rates. Excuse me?
Don't talk to her. Read your petition.
Order, please. Member for Lac-Dubani has the floor.
Number three, secondary property owners are subject to taxation without representation, as they are ineligible to vote for trustees who set the rates. Yet second property owners are still required to pay full education taxes in their division. Number four, additionally, families can only claim the reduced education property tax credit on their primary residence. Number five, these increases and the revocation of rebates were done with no consultation, punishing Manitobans who maintain family cabins by tying education taxation to assessed property values. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows: to urge the provincial government to remove education funding and taxation from property taxes and find a fair and equitable way to fund education in Manitoba. This petition is signed by Suzanne Fiala, Jeremy Martin, Bruce Mazer, and many, many more fine Manitobans.
Member for Borderland.
I wish to present the following petition to the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. These are the reasons for this petition. Number one, persons struggling with mental health as their sole condition may access medical assistance in dying unless Parliament intervenes. Number two, suicidality is often a symptom of mental illness, and suicide is the second leading cause of death for Canadians between the age of 10 and 19. Number three, there have been reports of the unsolicited introduction of medical assistance in dying to non-seeking persons, including Canadian veterans, as a solution for their medical and mental health issues. Number four, legal and medical experts are deeply concerned that permitting Canadians suffering from depression and other mental illnesses to access euthanasia would undermine suicide prevention efforts and risk normalizing suicide as a solution for those suffering from mental illness. Number five, the federal government is bound by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to advance and protect the life, liberty, and security of its citizens. Number six, Manitobans consider it a priority to ensure that adequate supports are in place for the mental health of all Canadians. Number seven, vulnerable Manitobans must be given suicide prevention counseling instead of suicide assistance. And number eight, the federal government should focus on increasing mental health supports to provinces and improve access to these supports instead of offering medical assistance in dying for those with mental illness. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows. Number one, to urge the provincial government to lobby the federal government to stop the expansion of medical assistance in dying to those for whom mental illness is the sole condition. And number two, to urge the provincial government to lobby the federal government to protect Canadians struggling with mental illness by facilitating treatment, recovery, and medical assistance in living, not death. This petition has been signed by Lisa Sawatsky, Susan Peters, Rachel Hildebrand, and many, many Manitobans.
Member for Morden Winkler.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I wish to present the following petition. The Legislative Assembly of Manitoba. The background to this petition is as follows. Number 1, over 25,000 vehicles per day cross the Louis Bridge, which has served as a link for vehicular traffic between Northeast Winnipeg and the downtown for at least 113 years. Number 2, the current structure will undoubtedly be declared unsafe in a few years, as it has deteriorated extensively, is now functionally obsolete, and therefore more subject to more frequent unplanned repairs and cannot be widened to accommodate future traffic capacity. Number 3, as far back as 2008, the City of Winnipeg has studied where a new replacement bridge should be situated. Number 4, after including the bridge replacement in the city's 5-year capital budget forecast in 2009, the new bridge became a short-term construction priority in the city's Transportation Master Plan of 2011. Number 5, the city capital and budget plans identified replacement of the Louis Bridge on a site just east of the bridge and expropriated homes there on the south side of Nairn Avenue in anticipation of 2015 start. Number 6, in 2014, the new city administration did not make use of available federal infrastructure funds. Number 7, the new Louis Bridge Committee began its campaign to demand a new bridge, and its surveys confirmed residents wanted a new bridge beside the current bridge, with the old bridge kept open for local traffic. Number 8, the city tethered the Louis Bridge replacement issue to its new Transportation Master Plan and Eastern Corridor project. Its recommendations have now identified the location of the new Louis Bridge to be placed just to the west of the current bridge, not to the east originally proposed. Number 9, the city expropriation process has begun. The $6.35 million street upgrade of Nairn Avenue from Watt Street to the 113-year-old bridge is complete. Number 10, the new city administration has delayed the decision on the Louis Bridge for a minimum of 1 year and possibly up to 10 years, unless the province steps in on behalf of the Northeast Winnipeg residents and completes the overdue link. Number 11, the Premier has a duty to direct the provincial government to provide financial assistance to the city so it can complete this long overdue vital link to Northeast Winnipeg and Transcona. We petition the Legislative Assembly of Manitoba as follows. Number 1, to urge the Premier to financially assist the City of Winnipeg on building this 3-lane bridge in each direction to maintain this vital link between Northeast Winnipeg, Transcona, and the downtown. Number 2, to urge the provincial government to recommend that the City of Winnipeg keep the old bridge fully open to traffic while the new bridge is under construction. Number 3, to urge the provincial government to consider the feasibility of keeping the old bridge open for active transportation in the future. This petition was signed by Braden Patel, Jadendra Patel, and Ratama Patel, and many other Manitobans. Thank you.
Any further petitions? Orders of the day, government business. We will now resume debate on the motion moved by the Honourable Minister of Finance to approve in general the budgetary policy of the government and the amendment thereto. Standing in the name of member for Brandon West. He has 3 minutes remaining. Member for Brandon West.
This budget proves one thing clearly, and this government is Brandon blind. Time and time again, the people of Brandon, and indeed all of Western Manitoba, are treated as an afterthought by this NDP government, unless, of course, there's a by-election. And then it's promises after promises. And this 2026 budget is no exception to that afterthought. Let's start with health care. Brandon is home to one of the most important regional hospitals in this province. It serves not just the city, but a vast rural and agricultural region. Yet in this budget, there's no clear staffing plan and no serious commitment to reduce the wait times or address burnout among frontline workers. People in Brandon aren't asking for special treatment, they're asking for fair treatment. And this budget fails that test. Let's talk about crime and public safety. Brandon has been dealing with rising crime, addictions challenges, and repeat offenders cycling through the system. Local law enforcement and community leaders have been cleared in their call. They need support, they need resources, and they need action, not just talk. What do they get in this budget? More bureaucracy, more announcements to be ignored, but very little in terms of real measurable support on the ground. That's not public safety, Honourable Deputy Speaker, that's public relations. That's damage control for a failed public safety plan. Now let's talk about affordability. Family in Brandon's are feeling the squeeze. Groceries, fuel, housing, all going up. The government likes to talk a big game about helping Manitoba, but when you look at the details, the relief just isn't there. There's no targeted plan for mid-sized cities like Brandon, no recognition of the unique economic pressures facing Western Manitoba, no vision to support local businesses trying to keep their doors open. This is a budget built for headlines in Winnipeg, not for hardworking families in Brandon and in Westman. And that brings me to infrastructure. Roads, highways, and trade corridors in Western Manitoba are critical to our economy. They support agriculture, transportation, and economic growth. Yet once again, Brandon and the surrounding region are left waiting for upgrades, waiting for investment, and waiting for a government that even notices them. The people of Brandon deserve better. They deserve a government that sees them, that hears them, and that invests in their future. Instead, they got a government that is Brandon blind. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Member for Kildonan River East.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm proud to rise today to speak to Budget 2026, but I want to start not with the numbers or line items, but with the people of Kildonan River East, because everything in this budget starts with them. Over the past year, I've spent a lot of time at doors, in schools, at community events, and in our Henderson office, listening to families, trying to find childcare, listening to seniors, trying to stay independent, listening to people who just want a healthcare system that works when they need it. And what I've learned is simple. The more people reach out, the better I can do my job for them. So I often say this to constituents: help me help you. The more you bring forward your ideas, your concerns, your lived experiences, the better equipped I am to advocate for you at the cabinet table and in this legislature. And I can say clearly, many of the things in this budget reflect exactly what I've heard from people in Kildonan River East. Let me start with healthcare, because that is what I hear about most. People want care that is timely, accessible, and close to home, and we are making real progress. Since 2023, we've hired over 4,000 net new healthcare workers, including more than 300 doctors. And Honourable Speaker, I'd like to point out that some of those doctors are fleeing the horrific conditions in the United States right now, and we have made sure that they felt welcome and supported to transition here in Manitoba, many of which have started practices in rural Manitoba. We've added hundreds of fully staffed hospital beds. We now lead the country in access to a family doctor and same-day care. That matters, Honourable Speaker, because it means people are getting help closer, sooner and closer to home. But I'll also say this clearly: we know there is more to be done. And that's why this budget takes practical steps to reduce ER wait times by improving how patients move through the system, adding the right space for the right care, and making sure people are seen by the right provider as quickly as possible. And just as importantly, we are making it easier for people to navigate the system in the first place. In my community of Kildonan River East, we've heard loud and clear that people don't always know where to go for care. That's why tools like MediNav matter. It helps people book appointments, find the right clinic, and get care without defaulting to the ER or urgent care for everything. And when combined with expanded primary care like extended hours at Concordia Hospital, we can make sure emergency rooms are there for truly urgent needs. That's how we fix the system, step by step, doing this work together, grounded in what people are actually experiencing in our communities. Now, beyond healthcare, the second thing I hear at the doors is affordability. People aren't talking about economic theory. They're talking about groceries, rent, childcare, and whether their paycheck stretches far enough. This budget responds to that, Honourable Speaker. We are removing the PST from grocery store food and prenatal vitamins, putting money back in people's pockets immediately. We are increasing tax credits for both homeowners and renters. We are continuing gas tax relief, and we are making transit free for kids and youth. Honourable Speaker, that's a point that I need to repeat. We are making transit free for kids and youth. The day of our budget, our local team went out door knocking, and that was something, regardless of how folks vote, how they have voted historically or intend to in the future, they have said that they are so thrilled that we are making transit free for kids and youth to reduce that barrier and that strain on families. There are practical steps that make a difference in people's day-to-day lives, but one of the biggest pressures families talk to me about is childcare. And this is where I've seen firsthand how powerful listening can be. Families told me they couldn't find spaces, that it was holding them back from working, from building stability, so we acted. We are expanding childcare with new centres and thousands of new spaces, including spaces right here in Kildonan River East, in both the River East and Seven Oaks school divisions. And importantly, we are investing in early childhood educators, because these are the folks that support our children every day. These spaces only matter if there are qualified people there to care for our children. In Kildonan River East, this means more families will have access to high quality, safe, early learning and childcare. And that has a ripple effect, Honourable Speaker. More parents can work, more families can build stability, more people can contribute to our local economy. That's what good policy does. It supports families and strengthens communities at the same time. We're also investing directly in our schools and our kids. In my community of Kildonan River East, I've had the chance to visit schools in both divisions, like mentioned, Seven Oaks and River East Transcona on both sides of the river, and countless childcare spaces. And I'll tell you, Honourable Speaker, what I hear from the educators, from parents, from students is consistent. They want support, they want resources, and they want their schools to succeed. This budget delivers that. More funding, more teachers, more supports. And Honourable Speaker, programs like the Universal School Nutrition Program, this is helping thousands of children every single day. Because when children are supported, families are supported. And when families are supported, communities are stronger. I also want to speak about seniors. In Kildonan River East, I've seen incredible community programs like the Good Neighbours Grocery Shuttle. It started as a pilot project with our local Kildonan River East team after responding directly to what we were hearing at coffee parties in our seniors' blocks, and now it's helping seniors stay connected, access essentials, and maintain independence. That's what community-driven solutions look like, Honourable Speaker. And this budget supports that broader goal, investing in home care, senior supports, and the services people need to live with dignity. Finally, this budget is about building an economy that works for people. We're investing in infrastructure, in schools, in hospitals, in roads. We're expanding apprenticeships and creating pathways into good-paying Manitoba jobs for Manitobans. And we're removing barriers like the lack of childcare that so many folks have mentioned can prevent their ability to participate in the workforce. Because good jobs don't just happen. They are built through smart investments, strong communities, and making sure people have the supports they need to succeed. Honourable Speaker, what ties all of this together is simple. This budget is grounded in what Manitobans told us in our One Manitoba message. Over 26,000 Manitobans participated in our pre-budget consultations. Honourable Speaker, that's 26,000 Manitobans participated in their consultations that the Minister of Finance held all over Manitoba. In our community of Kildonan River East, people showed up, they spoke up, and they shared their experiences. And when they do that, it makes us better. It helps me be a better advocate for our community. It helps our government make better decisions. And as I mentioned before, Honourable Speaker, to the Kildonan River East constituents, help me help you. Keep reaching out, keep sharing your ideas, and keep holding us to account. Because when we listen, when we act, and when we work together, that's when we accomplish things. And that's exactly what Budget 2026 delivers. Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Before I conclude, I also want to table a document that came from one of my constituents that has been very actively participating in the democratic system and is in constant communication with our local team. Last summer, or maybe the summer before, he made us aware of a number of different forums that were going on, and I can't thank him enough for making me aware of that. And then I attended one such event in Niverville, and it was through that experience that I was, as mentioned, able to relay firsthand to our team what was going on at that event and some of the things that we saw in that community. And so I would just like to now read an email that I recently received from him as he's moving and will no longer be a Kildonan River East constituent. So he said, "Many thanks, Rochelle. I wish you every success as a representative of the people of North Kildonan. You have served us admirably so far. May your sterling efforts be rewarded when the next election comes around. If I may be so bold, I see you echoing the sentiments of a certain Abraham Lincoln, in that you are for the people and not just the party. Stay true to your principles, even in the face of great pressure, which will surely come your way in the course of your duties. Stay connected with your constituents. Whatever happens in your political career, Then you will always feel the pulse of those whom you serve and be able to respond to their needs. Very best wishes, Fred. And as I table this document, I'll make note that I saw the clerks trying to get the speaker's attention. I apologize for referring to myself by name. I was quoting. I know that that's not possible in this chamber to refer to names, so I'll pretend that his email said member for Kildonan River East instead of my personal name. And Honourable Speaker, I just want to make it known that the reason I'm tabling that document is to try and I don't know how to explain it. Like, this chamber is so toxic with the folks from the opposition, the failed BC government, and they have so much time on their hands. Instead of talking to their own constituents, they post videos online and make up nonsense. And so the only thing I'm concerned about is not all the trolls online following their social media network, or what they yell in my ear all the time that I don't draw to your attention, Speaker, but it is the words of my constituents, and remembering that at the end of the day, I was elected by the folks in Kildonan River East, and it could be for a very limited amount of time, and I'm acutely aware of that, unlike lots of the folks in opposition, because they lost faith in the democratic process and are doing a very poor job of representing their communities. So thank you to all of the folks in Kildonan River East for giving me this great privilege to serve you each day, and I will continue to try to do my best to rise up amongst all this chaos. So thank you.
For record of all members, I wanted to repeat that even if you're quoting from a document, you're not supposed to mention your own name or any other elected member's name in this chamber. Thank you. Member for Agassiz.
It is an honor for me to rise in this beautiful space and in this legislative building and be the voice for the people of Agassiz. And I want to say thank you to the people of Agassiz who have given me this honor and this privilege to represent them. And like I said, to be their voice, bringing issues that pertain to their communities, their everyday lives. Some of those issues that I hear often about being rural crime, child care spaces, the lack of that in some of our rural communities, and health care. And of course, we're all feeling the impact of a healthcare system that isn't always serving Manitobans. And specifically in my Agassiz area, to be the voice for the community where we're having a new hospital built, thanks to our PC government, and the lack of a CT scanner going into that facility. So it is an honor to be working with the community to advocate and be their voice in getting that piece of important diagnostic tools to the community. You know, I hear from families as well that require respite help. And the supports that they need to help live their lives and provide care for their children. And of course, something that I know we are all hearing about in all of our communities and across the province, and probably more globally, is the affordability. Affordability for many families, and the financial challenges that go along with that in many of our households. And each year, the provincial budget gives us an opportunity for us here in Manitoba to showcase economic growth. It's an opportunity to see if there's job creation, the economic impact. It's an opportunity to make life a bit better for Manitoba families who are looking for help. And what we saw in this NDP budget, unfortunately, is just another lost opportunity. And this is why I am standing here today, very proud to support the budget amendment that our Progressive Conservative Party have put forward here. When I read Budget 2026, all I could think about were the families in my riding. Like I had mentioned, I have spent a lot of time in many of my communities, whether it's senior centers. I love to read month. I go to the classrooms. I do outreach just to check in with families. If I'm meeting with municipal councils, I will take the opportunity to meet with businesses and again, other organizations in their communities. So I know what the families in Agassiz are feeling and thinking. And, you know, some of the issues I hear are single moms in Austin and Carberry, the seniors in Treeherne and Plumas, thinking about families with the children, families who have children with special needs in Neepawa, Gladstone, again, Treeherne, all the communities within Agassiz. These are the families that are looking at their grocery bills, looking at their receipts and the gas receipts every single week and seeing the prices go through the roof. The cost of ground beef, vegetables, and other healthy foods continue to rise. And these should be food staples in our homes, but the cost of groceries and gasoline, all of which is out of control. These are families that are sitting around the kitchen table and are being forced to make some tough choices. I want to be clear that if families are having to make a choice between healthy food for their children and gas for their vehicle, the government here is failing Manitobans. And we are seeing that happen right before our eyes. Budget 2026 fails Manitoba families. There's no long-term plan for prosperity. There is no plan for economic growth. There are no measures that will put substantial money in the pockets of families. In Manitoba, food inflation rose by 5.9% year over year in December. This is the second highest inflation rate in the entire country, according to Stats Canada. Food bank usage is up across the province. Many of them, I've toured a couple of those in my constituency, the Salvation Army in Neepawa, the food bank in Gladstone. They are all struggling to keep up with the rising demand, coupled with slowing donations from individuals and other organizations. This highlights the crippling cost of living that we are all facing in Manitoba. And again, what is the response from this NDP government? Crickets. The budget fails to help families in a tangible way today. The NDP government refuses to act for Manitobans. Instead, they use, again, smoke and mirrors to deflect from the issues at hand. The PCs, us on this side of the House, are calling for the government to increase the basic personal amount that is income tax exempt to $30,000 per year. This measure will mean thousands of dollars straight into the pockets of families in Agassiz and every single community in Manitoba. Progressive Conservatives are also calling on the government to restore the indexation of personal income tax brackets. That would save Manitobans thousands. The NDP had a chance in their budget to make a difference, to implement these measures and provide real relief, but instead they went back to their usual political ways and announced lackluster measures that do nothing to restore affordability for Manitoba families. I want to paint a picture as to what the NDP is actually doing for this chamber. Let's imagine a single parent going to the grocery store, walking up and down the food aisles. They pick up some fruits, they pick up some vegetables, maybe a pack of ground beef, some cheese and bread, all of which are probably normal staples in any household. The amount of PST they are going to be paying on this today is already $0. The PST is zero. The measures that were introduced in the NDP budget will have no impact on the price of healthy groceries in Manitoba. That's right. $0 saved on a basket of healthy groceries. Manitobans are stating and saying groceries have become a luxury. I get excited over groceries the way I used to get excited over new clothing. How can this NDP government be okay with healthy groceries being a luxury for people in our province? Under this measure, a family of 4 might save a few dollars on soda pop, chips, and ice cream. That is not real affordability for Manitobans. Real affordability is restoring tax bracket indexation and raising the basic personal amount to $30,000 that will save families up to $3,000. Those are measures that will have an impact on families right across the province. That would put money back in every family household for their discretion and their choice to where they spend it, all of which goes back into the economy here in Manitoba. Budget 2026 itself says this expanded retail sales tax exemption on food at the grocery store will save Manitoba families up to $100 per year. I invite the government benches to go ask their constituents at grocery stores in their own ridings if they would rather have $100 per year or $3,000 per year. And I'm willing to bet I know the answer in what people would say. Another measure the NDP claims will improve affordability in Manitoba is free transit for youth. Once again, I will invite the government benches to venture out to my constituency in Agassiz, rural Manitoba, and see what life is like there. Public transit in rural Manitoba is not an option for anyone. People drive to work, and those are the ones that are facing out of control gasoline prices and diesel prices. This measure will save families in Agassiz $0. Not a penny will be saved for hardworking families in Neepawa, communities like McGregor, not even in Carberry, not Austin, not Treeherne. This free transit does not hit the homes in rural Manitoba. When this government gets up and says that it's an affordability budget, I have to get up and ask, for whom? For whom does this really give a significant cost savings to? I don't see it anywhere in this budget that illustrates where everybody can save money. It's not an affordability budget for families in Glenello or even in Sandy Bay. Those families are still falling behind. Those families are still having to make the tough choices between food or fuel every single day of the week. Not only does Budget 2026 not provide any real affordability measures, it shows that the NDP government do not take it seriously, that half the Manitobans are within $200 a month of not being able to pay their bills. I understand that the government doesn't want to admit that it is their fault that they have to put families in such an impossible position, but they need to address the reality of the situation before it gets even worse. Honourable Deputy Assistant Speaker. That's why my Progressive Conservative colleagues and I put forward this amendment to Budget 2026, an amendment that acts on the issues that we all know are all too real for Manitobans. I want to speak about the disturbing reliance of the provincial government on the federal government. Now, Budget 26 lays out the fact that 36% of our provincial coffers comes from transfer payments from the federal government. That is more than $9 billion that our economy cannot supply for itself. Not only is this a disturbing figure, it is also a historic one. Manitoba has never been more of a have-not province than what we are right now. And frankly, I don't think that's a surprise given this NDP's record thus far. Manitobans are starting to learn, and they're looking to see what this means. Progressive Conservatives do not want to rely on handouts and from Ottawa. We believe in building our Manitoba economy so that good jobs are plentiful, resulting in more money in the pockets right here of Manitobans. Unfortunately, what we have is the NDP government with no concern but for themselves in strengthening the economy. It's easier for them to call their friends in Ottawa and expect to get bailed out over and over and over again. I want to point out the single mom, the single parent, the single dad that we are advocating for again. They can't rely on someone else to bail them out whenever they don't feel like paying their grocery bill or their phone bill. Now more than ever, the government should show some fiscal responsibility, especially if the NDP government claims that they understand the growing concerns of Manitoba families. This reliance on Ottawa exposes the NDP's government inability to build our economy, and Manitobans are worse off because of it. Our economy here in Manitoba has stagnated. Private capital investment is down, unemployment is up, and we are seeing businesses look elsewhere for business opportunities. Affordability is fundamentally linked through productivity and investment. And because the government has treated affordability as a separate issue from economic growth, they've divorced the policy from economic reality. Our skyrocketing debt will reach more than $39 billion this year. This is more than $26,000 per person. Again, that's more than $26,000 per person. The province will be spending more than $2.4 billion just to service the debt. That's more than $1,500 per person that the provincial government will be throwing out the window this year alone. Honourable Speaker, this out-of-control spending needs to stop. This NDP government is simply passing the tax bill on to our children and our grandchildren. The NDP government's strategy for economic growth is to bury our future generations in an endless pile of debt. This chamber can debate how big the deficit should be all day long, and our PCs has much more to say about that. But I would like to speak about the impacts of the deficit and the debt, Honourable Speaker. I'd like to speak about who feels it most and has the least room to absorb the damage done by this NDP government. Seniors on fixed incomes, families with disabilities, and Manitobans who are already struggling with the cost of living. To them, affordability is not a talking point. Each and every funding decision, every cut for that matter, is deeply affected by all of these Manitobans. Many Manitobans have received notice that their respite support may be reduced or eliminated. The consequence of this will be immediate to many of these families. And many of them have to pay out of pocket and a significant amount to get the respite work and the level of care and supervision for their children or their family every single day. Managing this care across two households for some families, if they are separated, adds more complexity to many of these families' issues that are already compounds to the complexity. Honourable Speaker, at a time when families are already suffering from an affordability crisis, it is simply unacceptable that the NDP government dumps an even larger financial burden and emotional strain on families. This is the reality that this NDP government seems to be neglecting to realize. And that is where the difference lies. On this side of the chamber, we are here for families that need us. We believe in a system that supports them when life is difficult, not one that cuts and defunds life-changing and life-saving care. We believe in protecting respite care. We believe in seniors. We believe in the families who rely on each other. Manitobans don't deserve cuts. They deserve a government that understands the reality and delivers where it matters. Honourable Speaker, that's why it's important that the Chamber pass our Progressive Conservative amendments to Budget 2026. However, I do want to make one mention that I was pleased to see the continuation funding of Granny's House in the budget 2026. This, again, it builds on the important investment that our Progressive Conservative government started in 2020. Granny's House is an organization providing temporary respite care and services for children so their parents can deal with whatever challenges and stresses they're facing in their daily lives. Families can't be left to navigate the system the NDP government has broken. Families cannot be left to suffer under the crushing weight of debt and inflation that the NDP government has subjected them to. Our PC team have put forward amendments that will ensure that all families in Manitoba are able to thrive. We will ensure that all children have the resources they need to be able to learn, grow, and play in a safe and secure environment. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
No further petitions? Well, sorry. I stepped out for a while and apparently I forgot to come back. The Honourable Member for Tuxedo.
Honourable Speaker, I rise today in support of Budget 2026. This is a budget grounded in what Manitobans have told us matters most: their health, their affordability, their children, and their future. At its core, this budget is about people. Before I was elected, I worked as a registered nurse. In that role, I saw firsthand the realities of our healthcare system, what it means for patients to need care, and how much it matters to them and their families to know that help is there. I also worked alongside dedicated professionals who show up every day to provide that care. That experience is something I carry with me in this chamber, and it continues to shape the work that I do. And that is why we, on this side of the House, remain firmly committed to rebuilding our healthcare system. We know that there is no quick fix after years of strain, but we are making steady, meaningful progress, and Manitobans are beginning to see and feel that change. Since 2023, we have hired over 4,000 net new healthcare workers. Including 317 net new doctors. We've added 384 fully staffed hospital beds and reopened 143 personal care home beds, ensuring seniors receive more direct care with dignity. Today, Manitoba leads the country in access to a family doctor and same-day care. And that means that people are getting help sooner, closer to home, and when they need it. Honourable Speaker, my experience in nursing has also taught me this: healthcare does not begin in a hospital. It begins in our homes, in our communities, and in the conditions that people live in every single day. I've cared for patients whose health was not shaped just by illness, but whether or not they could afford food, whether they had stable housing, or whether they had the support that they needed. These are not separate issues. They are fundamental to health. And this budget recognizes that. We are taking real steps to improve emergency care, reduce wait times, creating specialized patient zones, and strengthening mental health supports. We are improving how patients move through the system so they receive the right care in the right place at the right time. Because timely access matters, but so does preventing people from reaching crisis in the first place. Honorable Speaker, this budget takes meaningful action on affordability because income and cost of living directly impact health. We are removing the PST from groceries and prenatal vitamins, helping families put healthy food on their tables. We are increasing supports for homeowners and renters and investing in those who need it the most. Because when people can meet their basic needs, their health improves. Housing is healthcare. When people have a safe, stable place to live, it reduces strain across the system. Food security is healthcare. When families can afford nutritious food, children learn better, and long-term health improves. Early childhood development is healthcare. By expanding childcare, we are giving children a stronger start and parents the ability to work. Education is healthcare. By investing in schools and nutrition programs, we are shaping lifelong outcomes. Honorable Speaker, we are also strengthening the healthcare system itself. We are recruiting and retaining doctors, supporting frontline workers, modernizing records, and ensuring safer workplaces. Because caring for Manitobans also means supporting those who provide that care. We are investing in seniors, improving home care, and ensuring people can age with dignity. We are supporting women's health, new parents, and families at every stage of life. What this budget reflects is a simple truth. If we want better health outcomes, we must invest in the conditions that shape people's lives. That means investing not only in hospitals, but in homes, in education, in affordability, and in opportunity. We are also creating good jobs because economic stability is a part of health. Through infrastructure, training, and economic development, we are helping Manitobans build stable, meaningful careers. And when people have good jobs, families are stronger and communities are more resilient. Honorable Speaker, at its heart, this is about people. It is about a patient receiving care without delay. A parent being able to afford groceries. A child arriving at school ready to learn. A worker building a future, and a senior living with dignity. As someone who has worked on the front lines, I know how much these investments matter. I know the difference they make, not just in policy, but in people's lives. That is why I am proud to stand in support of Budget 2026, because when we invest in people, we improve health across our entire province. We build stronger families, we build stronger communities, and we build a stronger Manitoba. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Portage-la Prairie.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I appreciate the time to speak about the 2026-27 budget brought forward by this NDP government. And I'm going to be blunt here. This is a budget that fails people from all corners of Manitoba. It fails people of Portage-la Prairie. It fails people of Winnipeg. It fails people of Brandon. It fails people from every corner that we live in. Fails hardworking farmers who are the backbone of this province. It's disappointing, Honourable Speaker. This budget is disappointing. It is so disappointing. The NDP has been in power long enough now that they can no longer use excuses, but they continue to, day in and day out. Manitobans can no longer accept delays, and we can no longer accept their half-baked promises about a better future when in reality they're leaving the people of Manitoba. We don't have to look very far in this budget to see federal transfer reserves make a record 36% of all revenue, or over $9.6 billion. And this government thinks they're doing a good job. Affordability is a primary concern for Manitobans, and with half of all households within $200 isn't something that's funny. It's not something to talk about. It is absolutely nothing to be proud of, and this government should be ashamed of that. When they talked about reducing the provincial sales tax on groceries, let's be honest here, Honourable Speaker. They reduced the PST on Coca-Cola, chips, and baked goods that come packaged. People can't afford that. And let's hope that families are not feeding, or hope that parents aren't feeding their families things like chips and pop, because we need better relief than that. We need to be better for the province of Manitoba. And this NDP budget did not do anything to relieve any of that that's going on. Let me be clear about Portage-la Prairie. I'd like to remind the members opposite that it was the previous PC Conservative government that delivered the hospital there for us. But I also must be clear, when it was talked about with the Manitoba Jobs Agreement, just to let everybody know, and for the record here, at the number of man-hours that went in so far to the Portage Hospital under the current Manitoba Jobs Agreement, it would have cost another $3.5 million out of the public's purse for the Manitoba Jobs Agreement. And I can tell you this, Honourable Speaker, I drove by there every day, and there was a lot of Manitoba license plates that were going in and out of that facility. The government, the NDP government talked today about the water project for the city of Winnipeg, and we're clapping because it was going to go under the Manitoba Jobs Agreement. I ask all Manitobans to ask this NDP government what extra that Manitoba Jobs Agreement is going to cost that project, because I know we won't get an answer from across. You know what, I can hear them heckling me, so maybe they're working out the man-hours right now at 85 cents per man-hour that it's going to cost Manitobans on any project that is put out by this NDP government. It's no wonder MITT is closing down. There's not going to be any work here. The municipalities cannot afford this. The municipalities that are doing work, that 85 cents per man-hour is going to go on right onto the bottom line of every project that is put forward here. My city of Portage-la Prairie is due to do a water treatment and wastewater project. I hope they are looking at how much more money it's going to cost because of this Manitoba jobs agreement project that we have heard from all kinds of construction companies across the province of how much this is going to hurt their business. I'm not sure who they're talking to, but they are not talking to Manitobans. The NDP continues to drop the ball when it comes to delivering the critical services that actually matter to people in the community. And I heard someone over there heckling me about the MRI. And we still don't have an MRI in Portage La Prairie. And for anyone who wants to tell me that this budget addresses health care, I ask them to explain this. Why do residents of Portage La Prairie still need to travel all over the province for basic diagnosis? Why do they have to do that? We started petitions there's been thousands and thousands of signatures on petitions regarding the MRI in Portage La Prairie. We've continued on with that for over 9 months. I'd like to address everybody on the other side that in 9 months, because the excuse was we could not train somebody, just let you know that in 6 to 9 months, you can train an MRI tech. This government had plenty of time to do that. I take that back. I want to talk about the mammogram as well too. So again, we heard this. The doctors in Portage said to me, "We're not getting the MRI. We've been promised a mammogram." Again, where was the mammogram in the budget? No sign of it, no nothing. So again, people will have to travel. The other thing with the mammogram or an MRI, this actually, for the healthcare system, can help reduce waits on the healthcare system. If you are diagnosing a cancerous tumor with an MRI, and if you catch it soon enough, it's much more treatable than if you wait 6 months, 9 months, a year to have that treated. So again, what has this NDP government done? Again, they're punishing the public of Manitoba because of the great work that this PC government before us has done with hospitals. The hospital in Portage La Prairie, has anyone said how many new beds that's going to add? Because all we hear is we're adding new beds. Yes, in Portage La Prairie, in Neepawa, in Boundary Trails, in Steinbach. Those are all projects that this PC government started before. I've raised this issue over and over and over again. I've fought for the resources we need to provide better care. We even came up with $5 million that is currently still on the table for an MRI in Portage La Prairie. What does this government continue to say? No. They would rather have people waiting a year or close to a year to get an MRI. Or they would like to do like people that are doing out of Portage La Prairie now, going down to the States, spending $800, spending $1,600. And their doctors are encouraging them to do that because this government will not act. They've been offered $5 million for the MRI. Won't do anything about it. We've been working on this for over 9 months. They could have had people trained on the MRI. Won't do it. I've heard of Red River Community College in Portage La Prairie supposedly training more paramedics. Where are they? There's no sign of them. And from what I'm hearing from Red River Community College, there's no start. So when will this happen? So again, to the Manitobans out there, I'm sorry. what you've had to put up with this nonsense budget that we've seen. The NDP has the nerve to talk about improving health care, but this budget fails all Manitobans. So again, you know, instead of standing up here and saying what you haven't done, let's offer some solutions here. Solutions are more diagnostic services so that people can get health care at the right time and the right place. Another solution, early detection, mammogram machines. We pushed and pushed to have the age lowered to 45 years old. And again, to you, Jenny Borgford, thank you. Thank you for all the work that you've done to help get that age lowered to 45 years old. The NDP have made their priorities crystal clear. They would rather spend millions and millions on a drug injection site, a facility that has received 5 times the funding of any new recovery programs, than actually address the real issues of addiction and mental health recovery in our communities. We've seen it over and over. I saw it last Thursday. It's what I talked about today in question period. 631 Main Street in Winnipeg. Red Road Lodge. A lodge that encourages recovery. Right next door to it. I don't mean a few doors down. Right next door to it is an open lot where MOPS is providing a place for people to do drug consumption. Right there. And we heard on CGOB yesterday, what happened in March to a lady in the 600 block, the same block as the Red Road Lodge, and also the same block where there is music pounding out of the area. There's a tent there, and you're encouraged, come on in, do your drugs, and you're going to get a package. And in that package is condoms. There's a syringe. There's wet naps in there. But what is also in there too, again, to encourage, is a candy. What happens if one of those kids in that area that was walking around the area on Thursday when I was there, picked up one of those candies and ate that candy, and what happened to that kid? Just like that happened to Harlan Foray. He was poisoned by fentanyl. Again, right next door to a recovery site. Is that not like putting AA meetings in the liquor stores? Maybe we should start that. We should maybe start putting AA meetings on in liquor stores. Because those people that have found their way to recovery, who want to make a difference, look out their window and what do they see? Music blasting, fires going, everybody having a good time while they're taking their drugs. No sign of anyone trying to help those people. If helping people means putting more drugs in somebody's arm, then there is something wrong. Let's talk about the injection site. This is a disaster for a moment. This is a government that has been obsessed with the idea of managing addictions without offering a path to recovery. A government that would rather open its wallet for a political gimmick than put the necessary resources into long-term rehabilitation services. Not just day services, not services from 11 to 7, recovery 24 hours a day. We're talking about Manitobans' hard-earned money being wasted on a drug injection site, while funding for addiction recovery is being cut or left behind. Many people with mental health issues go undiagnosed. More recovery is needed. We also need stiffer sentences for the people that are selling these drugs. We saw it on Thursday. I saw it with my own eyes. They were outside. There was 6 or 7 drug dealers that are working the front of a building that is right next door to the drug injection site. What they did there was they sold the drugs, and I watched the person that ran that building. She was threatened. She was threatened to be stabbed. She was threatened to be punched. How can you expect these people to operate a business when something like this is going on? Meanwhile, rural communities like Portage-la Prairie are left wondering, why are we spending more on harm reduction than on getting people off drugs? Again, when we look at the big picture out there, when we're talking about healthcare, why are we not doing something to reduce wait times? Why are we not doing why are we continuing to plug things up? Where's the funding for recovery programs? Where's the funding in this budget for long-term rehabilitation services? Why are we allowing drug addiction to be managed in a way that keeps people dependent instead of empowering them to recover? Instead of investing in long-term health of our citizens, we're throwing money at not even a temporary fix. That doesn't solve the root of the problem. This government has chosen to prioritize ideology over practicality. They would rather pat themselves on the back for being progressive than actually provide the recovery options that Manitobans so much need. These drugs are way more powerful, way more addictive than we have ever seen before. Yet, we let the drug dealers, we take them to jail, let them out. They get caught again, let them out. As far as I can see, what these people are doing is attempted murder or murder. Was there anything in the budget regarding justice of these people that are killing our Manitobans today and will continue to kill Manitobans as long as we continue to pour money, more money, and more money into drug injection sites? Honourable Speaker, I'm here to tell you that Portage-la Prairie is not just a place on the map. It's a community of hardworking people who contribute to this province every single day. And yet, under this NDP government, Portage-la Prairie continues to be treated as an afterthought. When it comes to health care, education, infrastructure, and agriculture, rural Manitobans are still waiting for the support they need. And now we're seeing from the federal government, and again, I'm guessing the provincial government must be supporting it too, is the increased level in the industrial carbon tax. And I've heard people say, well, it's a federal thing. Well, you know what? Our job is to stand up for what's right for Manitobans. And that industrial carbon tax that's going to increase, your 3 cents that you're going to save on a bottle of pop will not touch what is going on with that. We've seen the price of urea go through the roof because of the tariffs that are continuing, because of the issues in the Middle East that are happening. I'm running out of time. Thank you for the...
The honourable member for Kirkfield Park.
Wow. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Wow, all that doom and gloom is just like, it's too much. I think like the only drugs folks want to take after hearing that is Prozac, Honorable Speaker. It's pretty depressing what's coming from the opposite side. I mean, what do you expect when you close ERs and you lay off healthcare staff, right? It's really rich coming from the member from Portage La Prairie talking about, you know, including his community in the budget. And you know, the last few years that I've been elected, myself and a few of my colleagues, we make our way to Portage La Prairie every single year to celebrate their Pride event with their youth and with their kids. So Manitobans understand that when our government says we're going to show up, we show up. So today, as MLA for Kirkville Park, I'm really happy to rise on the budget 2026, and it really is a plan for fixing the disaster that the opposition left us with after we were elected. And we're delivering for families, and that's all families, including families with one parent, two parent, three parents or more, two moms, two dads, trans dads, and more. I was a little bit of a Dr. Seuss for you there. We're leaving no one behind, Honorable Speaker. I'm really proud to say that you know, we take our time and we really think about all of the consequences, the decisions that we make around the table here. 4,054 new healthcare workers, 384 new beds. That's something that we should be proud of and that we should tell folks. We're not saying that we're perfect, Honorable Speaker. We recognize that there's work to do, but here's the thing, we're doing the work, and folks are seeing that. And I'm really proud of that work. Kirkville Park, the beautiful community that I live in, we've seen some relief from some of the moves that our incredible health minister has made. Particularly the extended hours clinic at the Grace at the Access Center has really been very helpful to the folks who are working there. And another thing that I'm very proud of with our budget is our commitment to recruiting healthcare workers. And it was around this time last year, Honorable Speaker, where I got an email, and it was from a doctor in Wisconsin, and she sent me an email saying, "Hi, I'm a doctor, and this is my practice. This is what's happening in my country, in the United States right now. It's the persecution of transgender people and people who are practitioners, medical practitioners who serve folks who identify as trans or non-binary, whatever." So, you know, I could sense just even through the email that this doctor was very nervous and very afraid for their practice. And so they were looking to Manitoba to move to, specifically. They looked at different regions across our beautiful country, and they chose here. They chose Manitoba. And so they asked how I could help and guide them to making that happen. And Dr. Bathe, I should say, is happy to report, is working here in Winnipeg, has moved up here. And she's able to practice gender-affirming care without the fear of government coming in and telling her that she can't. And I had the honor of meeting Dr. Bathe, and the first thing we did was we gave each other a big hug. She's very open about her identity. She's a proud trans woman, and you know, she was in tears, Honorable Speaker, and just so grateful. And you know, it made me feel uncomfortable because just the amount of emotion that was coming out of her and her gratitude to our province and to our country for really standing up for human rights. And I think that's definitely something our province can be a leader on, and we are a leader on, and something that we should boast about and share with folks. I'm thinking about, like, you know, kids, and I worked with youth in the Manitoba Youth Center, and you know, one thing we know about kids is that they like to eat food, and if a kid doesn't get food, then, you know, they're looking for other things to do. Sometimes they get into trouble. Kids can't focus when they're hungry, and so I think it's really smart on our part to feed kids and to give them the opportunity to, you know, focus, have their minds not thinking about, like, where am I going to get my next meal, but actually focus on the work that they're working towards, you know, and that is, you know, becoming good citizens and, you know, learning and obtaining an education, and that's what we want for all of our kids. And I'm just so proud that we helped feed 93,000 kids in Manitoba. And you know, with that, I've heard a lot of, like, stigmatizing language coming from the opposition, and I'm telling you, for these kids, you know, there's no stigma. They just grab a plate, they grab apple, milk, whatever they do, and they eat with their friends. And there's something really special when folks get together and share a meal, and I'm so happy that our children are, you know, especially after coming out of COVID, Honorable Speaker, that we're providing them an opportunity to reconnect face-to-face again. And, you know, and caregivers too, you know, they can breathe a little easier knowing that we've got their back. You know, adding childcare spaces, and, you know, we've given our incredible early childhood educators raises that were long overdue, Honorable Speaker. Folks who are raising our children, folks who are teaching our children to be leaders and to show empathy and stuff like that. So I'm super proud that you know, we're affirming our early childhood educators with a fair wage. We're also taking the PST off food, and I'm super excited, you know, about exploring free transit for youth. I mean, breaking down barriers for youth and giving them every opportunity to succeed. I mean, how can you poke holes in that? I mean, I think, you know, we all want to have better citizens and folks who contribute to the community. And, you know, when you feed people, and they have that opportunity to contribute. So, as well as rent, you know, we're taking care of folks, you know, their health, their education. They're worried about putting and maintaining a roof over their head, Honorable Speaker. And, you know, the PCs, they slashed it by 25%. And, you know, we all see the rising price and cost of everything. And when you slash a subsidy that you're expecting, I mean, and you're on a really tight budget, that really can compound a lot of issues like mental health and health issues. So, you know, by providing a little bit more relief for people, you know, we're maybe giving people some of the intangible things, Honorable Speaker, that, you know, like maybe they're a little happier, you know, maybe they have a better sleep at night, you know, things like that, because they're not worried about, you know, putting a lunch together for their kid the next day. So super proud to be a part of that. And before I finish, Honorable Speaker, thank you again for the time. I just wanted to just recognize my friend, Amanda Laughlin, the First Nations MLA from the Kamisak. She was really a cool lady that I really enjoyed getting to know, and I just feel like it was such a privilege to call her a friend, to be invited to her community, and just to see the joy and the pride that she had showing me and my colleagues around her community. I'll never forget that, Honorable Speaker. So thank you for the time, and I'll let the next person up to speak. Thank you.
The honourable member for Spruce Woods.
Honourable Speaker, there's a simple question every Manitoban asks when a budget is tabled. Am I better off? And after going through this budget, the answer for far too many Manitobans is no. This budget asks family and seniors to pay more and promises them less. It's a budget that takes advantage of inflation instead of protecting people from it. At a time when people are counting every dollar, this government had a choice. They could ease the burden or they could add to it. They chose to add to it. This budget fails to grasp that Manitobans are living in the middle of a cost of living crisis. Their heads are in the sand, and more people are starting to question the Premier's judgment. From celebrating with Avi Lewis, to blaming geopolitics for his government's failure, to showing increasing arrogance, people are asking, what has changed? Power has a way of clouding judgment, and it's becoming clear that this Premier has lost his touch. And every day, Manitobans are paying the price. Instead of helping families have more of their own money, this government is quietly taking more. Through higher tax revenues driven by inflation, they're collecting hundreds of millions from families already stretched to the limit. And they did it while breaking a promise. They said they would not raise taxes, yet they canceled the indexation of income tax brackets and the basic personal amount. That means as wages rise just to keep up with inflation, Manitobans are pushed into a higher tax brackets and pay more. Not because they're getting ahead, but because the government changed the rules. That is a tax hike, plain and simple. At the same time, property taxes continue to climb. Education property taxes have skyrocketed with no plan to improve outcomes and no long-term relief for homeowners. Homeowners are being squeezed from every direction, and this government offers no relief, only higher bills, and the consequences are real. Half of Manitobans are now within $200 a month of not being able to pay their bills. That is not a statistic. That is families cutting back, falling behind, and wondering what comes next. Yes, this budget refuses to acknowledge that reality in a meaningful way. Now this government would have Manitobans believe it's making life more affordable. That is a promise. That is the headline. But when you look past the words and into the details, a very different story emerges. Because for many Manitobans, especially those that live outside of Winnipeg, this so-called PST tax relief on food will never show up. It will not appear on the receipt. It will not ease the burden at the kitchen table. It will exist only as promise made but never delivered. In rural Manitoba, the local store is not one option among many. It is the option. It is where families buy groceries, fill their tanks, and pick up the essentials of daily life. These are small business, independent businesses that sell a bit of everything because that is what it takes to survive and to serve their communities. Groceries, fuel, supplies, and yes, sometimes tobacco. Not because they're doing anything wrong, but because this is how they keep their doors open. But this policy draws a line, a hard line, and it draws it right through rural Manitoba. Because under this approach, those very stores, the one communities depend on, are at risk of being excluded entirely. And not because they fail their customers, and not because they charge too much, but because they do not fit a narrow definition designed far from the realities they face. Because they do not look like a big chain store. So what happens? A family in Winnipeg walks into a large retailer and gets the tax break. A family in a small town walks into the only store they have and they pay the full price. Same groceries, same needs, different outcome. This is not fairness. This is not compassion. This is a government picking winners and losers. And it tells you exactly where this policy came from. It was not written with rural Manitoba in mind. It shows no understanding of how life actually works beyond the city limits. It was written behind a desk in an office where people who assume choice is everywhere and convenience is guaranteed. But rural Manitoba, it is not. If this government truly believed in affordability, they would not divide Manitobans into categories. They would not reward those who live near the big box stores while leaving everyone else behind. Affordability should not depend on your postal code. Tax relief should not come with fine print. And fairness should never be conditional. A government that understands its people lifts everyone up. It does not leave someone behind because they do not fit their model. And that is why this policy fails. Because in the end, a fair policy reaches every family in every community, no matter where they live. This one does not. And Manitobans can see that. Across this province, the same pattern repeats itself. In agriculture, the very people who feed this province and drive our economy are being left behind. Producers are facing rising cost and uncertainty. And this budget offers little to support them to bring food prices down. In the economy, there is no real plan for growth, no serious strategy to respond to the trade pressures, rising fuel costs, or global instability. In public safety, communities are dealing with rising property crime, and families are concerned. Yet this budget offers no meaningful plan to address it, no effort to deal with repeat offenders, and no push for reforms that keep dangerous individuals off the streets. In healthcare, the story's the same. More spending, but no clear improvement. Patients are waiting longer. Families are traveling further. Frontline staff are raising serious safety concerns, including incidents that have led to hospitals being graylisted, and 3 for the first time in Manitoba's history. And what is the response? No decisive action, no clear plan. Mental health and addictions are also being neglected. There is no meaningful expansion of services. Not a single rapid access to addictions medicine clinic has been established since they formed government. And at a time when Manitobans need help, the most, this government is not delivering.
This one's up.
And then there's the bigger picture. This budget does not balance. Not this year, not next year, not anytime. There is no credible plan to get there. No path to reduce the deficit. No strategy to deal with rising debt. And that matters. Because every dollar spent on interest is a dollar that cannot be used to go towards healthcare, education, or tax relief. Every year this is delayed, the burden grows, and every Manitoba will eventually pay the price. This is not responsible, it is not sustainable, and it is not fair to the next generation. And at its core, the budget shows a government that has lost focus on the basics: affordability, safety, and opportunity. Instead of easing the burden, it adds to. Instead of growing the economy, it weakens it. Instead of fixing problems, it spends more without results. Instead of being honest with Manitobans, it hides tax increases and avoids accountability. Budgets are about choices. This government chose higher taxes over tax relief. They chose spending over better outcomes, more spending over better outcomes. They chose headlines today over results for tomorrow. They chose the quick announcement instead of the hard decisions needed to actually make life more affordable for Manitobans. And Manitobans are ones left paying for it, not just today, but for years to come. That is why we cannot support this budget without these amendments, because Manitobans deserve better. They deserve a government that helps them get ahead, not one that holds them back. A government that respects their work, protects their paycheck, and plans for the future. And for above all, they deserve a government that keeps its word. When the government was going around to hear budgets, what they wanted, I expressed in Brandon that we are in a daycare crisis and how daycare crisis affects the economy. When a couple cannot both go to work in this day and age, one has to stay home to watch her child because they can't get into daycare. Now they have less money. Less money means less spending. So we absolutely need, and in my writing, it is a daycare crisis. Just recently, my son has his 3-year-old son going to his 72-year-old mother-in-law. The mother-in-law could not get out of bed one morning. Her hip went. They got the ambulance. He had no daycare. His partner had to phone her job as a dental assistant and tell the dentist she can't come to work because she has no one to watch her son now because she has no spots in daycare. What happened? The dentist had to cancel his appointments and all the other staff were let go for the day. So they didn't get a wage. They had to postpone. In question, this happens every day in everybody's household that's looking for daycare. They can't go to work. One partner has to stay home with the child. This is affecting the economy of all. There is no doubt that the Premier has not risen to the occasion and to the crisis at hand. He was given a tremendous responsibility by the people to deliver and to follow through with the promises. This budget breaks that trust. And when a government loses the trust of the people, it loses something far more important than a vote in this House. It loses its mandate to lead. This is where we are today, and it's a time to change the course. We have people that can't go to work because they don't have daycare. We have people waiting in ERs for hours and hours and hours. We've had how many deaths of people waiting? We have a government that would rather throw more money into a drug consumption site than to have treatments for people. We have people living, many Manitobans, within a $200 to pay for their next $200 left towards bills before their next paycheck. And they delivered nothing in this budget to help. What they did was they divided rural against urban. They've left us out completely in our riding. We have many stores that called me and said, we will not be eligible for this, which leads our people to go to the next city, and rural Manitoban stores fight every day with their people leaving to go to the box stores. And this government has given them the lift and the push, and let's go, let's move this. So it's time. We deserve a government that helps everybody in Manitoba get ahead, not one that holds them back. A government that respects their work, protects their paycheck, and plans for the future. And above all, they deserve a government that keeps their word. There's no doubt that the Premier has not risen to the occasion and to the crisis in hand. He was given the tremendous responsibility by the people to deliver and to follow through with his promises. And this budget breaks that trust. On behalf of Spruce Woods, I thank them for having me come today, and thank them for all their calls and emails after this budget was given to show trust that I would advocate for them. And I told them I would stand in this House and speak on their behalf because their voice matters. Thank you.
The honourable member for Elmwood.
Well, thank you, Honourable Speaker, and very pleased to speak to the budget. And I have to say that I've been here a while, and certainly the gloom and doom is always coming from the opposition benches. And I've been on both sides of it. Look at the record. You would think that the whole province is coming to an end listening to the opposition in every speech they make. And they were the government just 7 years ago, and they would be making probably the opposite speech, But the reality is that when budgets are put together by the government, there's hearings, there's public hearings, A budget is always as reasonable as you can make it, unless there's a political angle to it. And you'll find that over the years, the Conservatives, when it comes to hydro projects, it's a really good example. Duff Roblin built the last Conservative project. Now, that was a long, long time ago. And after that, the Conservatives never built another project at all. It was all Ed Schreier building one after the other, power projects, Sterling Lyon shutting it all down, and then Howard Pauley turning around and building another project. And so I can see why they're so miserable, because when they look back, you know, in life you look back to what did I do in the last 10 years, what did I do in the last 20 years, and here they can look back and say, what did we do in the last 50 years? And you say, not one hydro project.
Shame.
You know? So, and you know, the members say, yeah, well, we're trying to tie down the debts and do things like that. Well, yeah, you did. For 7 years, you were cutting back. You tried to cut back Concordia, ER, the other ERs. And at the end of the day, the public didn't like what you were doing, what you were prescribing. And the reality is now we are having to restore those cuts that you people made. And, you know, just in my own constituency, just last couple of weeks, we had a announcement there with Dr. Tour, and we were dealing with spine surgery program, a $2.7 million advanced surgical technology in Concordia Hospital, and all of us local MLAs were there, and along with the surgeon. Who was going to demonstrate the spine surgery that we were doing. So, you know, and you see that happening. They're not big projects, but we're doing a bunch of these projects, and the public is happy with that. You know, the reality is that people are looking at the budget and they say, you know, it looks reasonable. They're not overdoing anything. We're not, you know, paving streets with gold here. I mean, I'm sure the member for Concordia and I would be agreeable if we could pave some of those streets with gold, but we're not doing that. And we're sounding prudent. When we first got elected, the Premier brought in the gas tax holiday. That was well received. I was surprised myself. I was a big advocate of the discount for the cameras and the security systems. And you know something, these projects have worked out very well. The public like what they see, and they're not seeing a government rushing too far one way, too far the other. And now we're in really difficult times. We look across the country and we see BC, $15 billion deficit. Alberta, I think it's $13 billion. Saskatchewan's, you know, it's comparable to us or maybe a little worse. I think New Brunswick is not too good either. And this economy is a balanced economy, as people know. Like, we used to advertise it every year in our budget as the Manitoba Advantage. It was, you know, we had agriculture because certain provinces are too heavy in one area or another, like Alberta's too heavy in oil. The price of oil's high, they do well. The price of oil's low, they don't do so well. But we have an advantage here. So we have the forestry, we have agriculture, we have mining, we have the aerospace industry, and in the last large number of years, we've never been in a situation where everything is bad, you know. But it is disturbing that we're seeing, you know, growth rates in the last quarter in the U.S. of like +5. And for Canada, we're seeing like 0 or, you know, a little bit of minus or very slight 0.1% higher. This is not good. And so we have to somehow keep cool heads here and get through this upcoming period and get this CUSMA agreement renewed. We have to do that. And right now, you know, we're paying a tariff right now with the states of about, 6%? Well, even the worst situation for other countries would be like England, who are sitting at the base at 10%. So looking forward, if something isn't done here, we're going to end up in worse shape next year, right across the country. You know, it's not just going to be Manitoba, it's everywhere else too. So I think the Prime Minister is so far been on the right track, trying to, you know, develop other sources of trade. But the reality is that, just look at the China agreement where we're bringing 50,000, I think it is, Chinese electric vehicles into the country. Now, these are great products. BYD and other companies are producing. Let's not go with the robots right now. But anyway, I mean, we can do that. But it's very difficult to negotiate with a president who says when he first hears about this agreement, saying, "Well, it's great that Carney went there and showed enough independence to sign an agreement with the Chinese, right?" And that was then. That was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, today it's all different. Pete Hoekstra is saying, I think today, that, oh my God, we can't have these Chinese cars here in Canada because, if they come across the border, they get sold across the border, they're spying. And, that's what the cars do nowadays. It's true. I mean, we've got that problem too. Teslas, people were scratching Teslas a few months ago. And people didn't realize there's like 8 cameras taking your picture. Like, why would you do that? Well, this is the way things are moving. A number of years ago when I was in the Parliament, we had sudden acceleration problems with Toyota. And I went down to hearings in Washington and found out that the cars, even in those days, were keeping track of your driving. And so when you end up in court, you're in trouble. Right? So I introduced a bill in the House of Commons to say that you are the owner of that material, right? Well, that was like 15 years ago. And today it's far worse because all of these new cars got that capability of sending your material up into the system. And that's how these self-driving cars are working right now in Texas and so on, based on the driving that the cars are doing, collecting the stuff. So these are very difficult. There's difficult negotiations coming. And unfortunately, in that particular situation, we are going to be in lots of trouble over this whole situation because of that part of it. Not the fact that they can build really good cars at lower prices and stuff like that, right? So we have got ourselves into a bit of a problem here, and I'm just hoping for the best and hoping that cooler heads prevail and the people don't, like that as politicians, that we don't do things that are unpredictable, not too many anyway, to try to navigate ourselves into a situation where we've got stability. And I think it's going to work both ways. I think the Americans have to worry about that too. But we do have to look at expanding our trade routes to other areas. And I think that we've kind of learned some lessons over the last couple of years now that we just cannot accept that things are going to continue where they were in the past. So, I think the Conservatives have to contain themselves a little bit here and understand that you've got to, go along a bit to get along, and that they should keep their eye on the big picture here, right, and not start raising trouble over some, smaller issue that they're unhappy with that particular day. I never heard them making speeches about some of those speeches that I'm hearing now about, drug stuff and whatnot, I'm sure there's an issue there, but I never heard about that from them before, right? It's an issue right now. And I'm saying that they should be concentrating more on trying to look at the whole Manitoba economy, the Canadian economy, on how we're going to navigate our way through this problem so that we don't end up
please. When this matter is again before the House, the honourable member will have 9 minutes remaining. The hour being 5 p.m., this House is adjourned and stands adjourned until 1:30 p.m. tomorrow.